Hey, everybody. We're going into a holiday weekend. It is Thursday at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, and we got so much to talk about tonight. And I just want y'all to know the fair has been hilarious, and we have a lot to show you on that. But let's start off with Mitch McConnell. Like, what the hell?
Wait, can I preface before we get into this? Because I just want everybody to understand. First of all, this is not going to be like a super serious week. We're heading into a holiday. We're all exhausted. We're going to laugh about some stuff. We need a reprieve. So, I don't want to hear it from y'all. These are terrible people. Okay, now continue on with what you were going to say about
terrible people. We're
one of the worst.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Mitch McConnell, I mean, it's been, so June 14th. So it's been 2 weeks and he's MIA. And a lot of people early on were saying he's dead, right? I personally never thought he was dead because I don't think they can keep it a secret this long. I think he's in hospice care or maybe on life support. Let's hear the 911 or the recording here.
Medical confirm medic engine 3, medic 3, ALS response unconscious, 217 C3, no CCS in Charlie. Medical confirm medic engine 3, medic 3.
I just want to say I have no idea what she's saying, so it's good for these captions. But ALS means I thought it means something life support. So it's just like
advanced life support.
Advanced life support. Yeah. And it basically means like get ready or whatever. It doesn't mean they're on life support, but
ALS response unconscious. 217 C Street, no CCS in Charlie, close of 2nd Street on Charlie 11, 836.
So what are y'all seeing and hearing? I mean,
they said in the latter part of that call, like the guy says CPR is being performed. Like it's in the call that CPR is being performed. So this isn't like we're guessing. This is a leaked call that shows that the care that he received was CPR. So, which makes sense if he was found unresponsive and unconscious. That's what you would do if someone wasn't breathing. I did not know until people pointed it out. I posted a video about this, and my apologies if you saw the first half. I haven't finished editing the second half, which is what happens to him if he dies, what happens to his seat. I didn't get there because I was complaining about him and all of this and the fact that there's such hypocrisy around the way they're treating Mitch McConnell right now.
Yeah.
But the people that responded commented that if he had CPR, that there is a very low percentage of people who respond to that, like especially at his age, right? Like, so something between 6 to, I think I saw 12% of people respond to that at his age. Like, if you're not breathing and they show up and you haven't been breathing, the likelihood of you surviving that is slim because, at his age, he's already like a lot of ailments at this point. We've seen them. It's been years. This isn't like just a year or two. I mean, it's been like a decade now of him falling down, hitting his head, having like injuries, freezing at the podium. And, so this isn't even me being mean. I'm just like, we have just seen it before our eyes. So I had not even thought about the fact that if he did have some sort of episode, what would the likelihood be that he survived that or came out of a coma if he was, if they were able to resuscitate him to that? I don't.
He's been in.
And honestly, at any age, what the report is that he was found unconscious in his DC home, so it wasn't at work. We don't know if anyone was there. We don't know how long he was unconscious. So, at some point, hey, Melanie, you're back on. At some point, it's, like the amount of minutes no matter what you are, if you're not breathing, I think
do we think he was living alone even? I would
no, I mean his wife. I mean, I don't know.
I forgot he has a wife.
Yeah, he has a wife.
They still try.
Even no. I'm not saying they just left him. I mean, I don't think he was dead. I think they may have resuscitated him but I think he's either in hospice care. I don't think he's going to be back on the synth floor is bottom line.
No.
I think a lot of us I don't want to sound like an awful person, but I was not sad for this news. I will say that. And, my thought immediately went to, Kentucky, Democratic governor gets to appoint a Democrat. No. That's not the state. They have actually legislation that he has no say-so, and it has to be done by a certain time.
need to complain about many things here.
But
Sorry. This is
I
like,
think the legislators actually get to a point, you know,
yes. So it's
or
like
he calls a special
Kind of.
election and there's a
it's like,
deadline for it.
yeah. So here's what the thing. This is what really bothers me. I would just like the hypocrisy of this, because, and this is also for the Democrats. This is how like ahead of strategy Republicans are. They're like, okay, so we've got this ancient guy who's been in office longer than most of us have been alive. Okay, he's probably going to die soon. We now have a Democratic governor. What do we do? I know. Let's change the rules. So they changed the law
Yeah.
so that if he dies, Mitch McConnell dies, the not only can the governor not pick his permanent replacement, but when he picks the interim replacement before the special election that has to happen in like a normal year, okay, we're not talking about, I know midterms kind of change some things here, but like just in a normal, anytime, he would pick an interim and that person has to be a Republican. That was a 2021 law they made. So like there's multiple laws
And
that
from a
they have
list that they
created.
pick.
That's exactly right. So he's very limited in terms of who he can put in there. And there's also additional rules, and then there's other federal rules. So I believe August the 4th, like he's got to die before then publicly for anything to happen. And then I think after that, it like forwards on to the main, I guess, becomes their, I don't know. That's
However,
where it
even
kind of,
All
then,
right, well-
it said that it goes against their state constitution. So
There
they
you
made
go.
this law where it violates their own state constitution. So Andy Bashir has a lot of avenues that he can pursue. At worst case scenario is he just doesn't appoint anybody. Because
Yes.
I mean, right now the thing that
that's
has
not
been,
a bad scenario.
right. So
Right. That's the way to go.
already he's not been voting for this entire time since he had his incident. If they want a weekend at Bernie's him, that means he can't vote. So
Yeah.
they've taken a vote away from themselves. It means the
Mhm.
Democrats don't pick up a vote, but it means the Republicans absolutely lost a vote.
So basically, as long as this goes on, we're better off, basically.
Yes,
Because of the
absolutely.
alternatives.
And Andy
Okay,
Bashir,
so-
under no circumstances, should do what the state legislature has prescribed for him to do, because the first argument is it's against their state constitution, and the second argument is fuck you. This has to be the way Democrats play at this point. Is
That's right.
What would a Republican do? What did Mitch McConnell do? 293 days. There was a Supreme Court seat open. So what would Mitch McConnell do?
It was over a year.
Mitch McConnell would have this scenario set up where that seat would remain vacant. So in honor
It was
of his
over a
memory,
year.
may his memory
Crazy.
be a blessing. We will keep that seat open in order to honor him.
No.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that's,
Go.
that's it. So speaking of Mitch McConnell, he's a big part of the reason why we have this fucked up Supreme Court. Like with it's
Yeah. So
it's basically,
I want to clarify that 293 days is the amount of time that Merrick Garland's portion of that was open. The actual seat remained open for over a full calendar year because Scalia died February 15th. I know, because my birthday is on Valentine's Day and it was like a present to me. I was like, oh, belated birthday present. Like, amazing. So sorry, like he wasn't a great guy either. Like, let's be so honest. Anyway, so that he intentionally, he said very specifically that it wasn't about the person, it was about the principle. Mitch McConnell said it was about the principle. So on principle, this is an election year, and on principle, we're going to need to leave this seat open on principle. And I would just
And
keep
then on
saying that over and
principle,
over.
pushed through Amy Coney Barrett in what, 8 days?
The whole process, I mean, from beginning to end was like 38, 39, I don't know, like a menstrual cycle is what I keep. It's like a menstrual cycle of time that they were able to get a new Supreme Court justice in after one died. So again, election year, and they did the same thing with Brett Kavanaugh, because they also said, we can't do it in an election year. And then here he comes in the midterm year. And they did that in less than a couple months. So they had like
this
with
week,
all his problems.
Yeah,
this week, I don't know about
totally
you guys, but the birthright citizenship ruling came. I was nervous for that. I was pleasantly surprised. And I don't know if you guys noticed, the early reporting was that it went the other way. Like the rulings come and they have to read them and analyze them. I know NBC for sure misrepresented it. They said it went the other way because my mom was texting me like, "Can you believe this shit?" Blah blah. I was like, "No, it went the other way," because I got the AP report and all that. So there was a little bit of confusion. That's not that unusual, but I think in general, a lot of people have been talking about the balance of the court and how do we fix it, and we also have been talking about court reform. I want to play this little video for you guys because I think we need more representatives, senators to talk about that as well. But I do think it starts with grassroots. But listen to this. I thought this was encouraging.
Ask you in light of this week's rulings from the Supreme Court about court expansion. I know it's an idea that you have supported in the past. You still have a lot of Democratic colleagues who are not there. Is this a conversation you're having inside the caucus?
Yes, I am the author of the court expansion bill. The Republicans stole two Supreme Court seats in 2016 and 2020. That's what's giving them their supermajority. The only way to solve this problem in a very short period of time is expand the Supreme Court by 4 seats up to 13. That would then restore the 7-6 majority, which should be in place right now. And we have to fight for that, and we can do that statutorily. It does not require a constitutional amendment. That has to be at the top of the agenda, and that's what I'm talking to my colleagues about right now.
Good.
One more before we chat.
Justice Thomas, can we ask who you were meeting with today?
What'd you say?
Can we ask who you were meeting with this afternoon?
What'd you say?
Who were you meeting with this
Oh,
afternoon?
nobody.
You weren't meeting with the speaker, you were in the
Oh,
office.
God, no.
So what are you doing up here?
Oh, just walking.
No meetings in particular?
I'm going to tell you about.
Tomorrow's going to be a big day at the court, huh? Final day of decisions?
Oh, I guess so.
You want to give us a sneak peek of some of the decisions?
Nope.
But you can't tell us why you're up here today, who you're meeting with? Who
All
are you
right,
meeting with?
so pretty much nothing. Nothing happened there. But so I was happy to hear Senator Markey talking about a bill, which I really wasn't aware of until I saw that segment. But I think more grassroots need to be talking about reform and what that means, and court expansion and term limits. Like, I don't think any of these judges should be lifetime appointees. I just think that has lived its course. People live too freaking long now. There's too much corruption on the court. We need a way out of it.
I need everybody to do a really quick lesson. You cannot be strict constitutionalists. Like, you cannot be strict interpretationalists. Well, I'm just making up words, but you cannot believe that the Constitution is as it was written, and then also believe that these Supreme Court justices should have life appointments and have the power that they do, because they didn't have that in the original Constitution. They gave that to themselves, literally. They wrote a decision. Maybe you've heard of it, Marbury versus Madison. It's pretty significant. And it was necessary. Like, it's not as if we look back and go, wow, that was a bad call, because we needed that. Because obviously, when you create a government from scratch, you're going to find things that fell through the cracks, or things that needs evolve. And so this is why it's important that we have justices that are willing to add and infer as we evolve. This idea that we can't come in and reform the court is absurd, because they already did it themselves. Why should the body that's governing be the only one that has the ability to govern itself? That's also crazy. So there needs to be some kind of ethical, guidelines and standards. There needs to be term limits. There needs to be probably at least enough justices to cover all of the courts of appeal. If we're going to be really honest about it, that makes sense, right? There's not enough. And when they did expand the court back in FDR's term, that was one of the justifications, right? Like, they needed enough justices, and now we have more. We have more courts. So I think it makes sense to do it, and we should be speaking about it that way.
We need a huge judicial reform program. And as the grassroots, we should be pushing for that constantly, because that's how you push politicians to talk about these things. We need to be talking about it. We need to be asking candidates about it. We need to be posting about it. And it's not just the Supreme Court. We need justice
Yes.
reform throughout. I was
Mhm.
watching a special, I believe it was a PBS special, where they were talking about how Trump has fired over 130 immigration judges, all
Mhm.
right, which is really impacting immigrants considerably, and putting out cases over a year, some cases all the way pushing them into the 2030s. Can you believe it? And this is kind of the way that that autocrats work. They screw up the judiciary. They attack the judiciary. They fire judges, and he can't fire judges on, in federal courts, but he can fire immigration judges, because that doesn't work out of the judicial branch. It's right out of the Justice Department. So I mean, there has been an attack on, and he constantly attacks judges. Constantly, he's attacking judges because of their ethnic heritage, saying they can't rule against me because they're Hispanic. I mean, just crazy stuff. So, in addition to the Supreme Court and expanding the court, why is the Supreme Court the Supreme Court? Like, why are they the highest law of the land? Why do they get to determine what's constitutional or what's not constitutional? We need to revisit these things, because it's not working right now. When they say that there can be unlimited financing for candidates, that's just pure insanity. That's just saying, okay, well, then we might as well have a king, because if the richest people can control the political system, then what point is there in justice? There's no justice when the rich people can control the justice and control the politics and control all the laws. I mean, it's
Speaking of
insanity.
rich, do you know who's gotten rich being on the Supreme Court? Several of our problematic justices, and I forgot to send the graphics to Chris, sorry. But you can see it, you can Google them, and I've done a bunch of videos. The you know I think it was 2023, 2024, ProPublica dropped pretty expansive article coverage on the amount of money that Clarence Thomas had received from Harlan Crow, and how connected he was to like Leonard Leo and all the people, how they were taking vacations together. And it showed that Scalia had also done the same, right? Like, and Alito was also getting money. And the problem is that they have rules about financial disclosure, and some of it was disclosed, but some of it wasn't, because they were interpreting it as, like, I don't know, like, not gifts, like the fact that he bought Harlan Crow bought Clarence Thomas's mom's house,
Yeah.
like, and then rented it back to her, like, right. And so that, like, that wasn't considered a gift, but obviously it freaking was, right? Like, that's oh, and then Harlan Crow's a mega donor for the Republican Party. Like, sorry, he's conservative. So this is a problem, because clearly there's conflicts of interest. We're seeing that they are getting money from people, or people that were connected to corporations that they're eventually legislating, or they're adjudicating. And so there's this, like, they're making tons of money, and they're being bought off for their decisions. These people are largely more political than their previous counterparts, and that's because the Republican Party intentionally went after them and bought them. And that's different. Like, over the last 20 or 30 years, that's shifted, because that's been a part of the agenda for the Republican Party. They realized, oh, if we get in there and mess with the court system, we can really make change. And that's what's happening now. And to Milena's point, that includes the lower courts as well. So in ways that they're able to appoint justices because of the redistricting that these states have done, and the state legislatures have done in some cases. And so it's not just getting a president in, it's like this whole infrastructure. They really thought ahead in a way that Democrats were not thinking, which again goes to the point that a government has to function and be able to evolve to meet its needs. And now we know that political parties are willing to use money. Citizens United reinforced that. And this is what they've done to it, is a bunch of shady stuff. Now
And
we're kind of
there are
screwed.
really good ideas that are outside of the box thinking that go more in depth than just expand the court, like
Right.
having a massively expanded court, but have the justices be picked on a rotation, a random
Yeah.
rotation, which would eliminate the idea that that there is any kind of and this goes hand in hand with having a different set of judges pick the courses that the court will hear versus the cases that the court actually hears. So you don't have the justices picking a test case that they know how they're going to vote on and picking it specifically to rule in a certain way. That you have different justices picking the case than are actually adjudicating the case. And it's different things like that that have to be part of this conversation, or we're going to be right back here after we've expanded it to 13 or whatever.
And I think that this part of the problem with this is that it gets complicated. People don't understand that. They don't understand how Supreme Court justices pick cases. They don't understand the whole process. I think a lot of people think that the cases that come through the Supreme Court are just that's the only cases. Like that's it for the year. And they don't understand that there are all these cases that don't get picked up by the Supreme Court because they don't want to rule on that. They want the lower court's decision to stand, or I just don't think people even understand that. And that's a problem when it comes to the education piece of this, how it's gotten this far and why it's gotten that far. So when we talk about reform and we talk about judicial reform, I think a couple things need to happen. Number one, we all as activists, like as people that are involved, we need to consistently be very firm and very secure in our beliefs that this is like not only warranted and justified, but that like there is a long-standing historical precedent for this. Like there is reason to do this, and
it's
it's
doable.
necessary. It's very doable. And the reminder that just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done, and doesn't mean that there isn't a really cool solution out there. Just because it doesn't exist yet doesn't mean that it can't. And I think we need to remember that and understand that it's slow to change. Typically government is, but when it does, we can take feedback and we can do whatever we want. It's our government. So there's being creative about that is important. And so the education needs to come along with that as we talk to people, and using that term, that judicial court reform, as an umbrella term to like not just mean one thing, but in fact we have many things. And in fact, even if we get one thing, that doesn't mean we stop going to get the other things, right? We keep going until we get all that we want. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing kind of package. It can be an evolving kind of progressive package. And I think we just need to keep that in mind as we go forward. I can't hear Chris. Anybody else hear him?
No, I think he's muted.
Okay, my
so
mic
it's
was
just-
muted.
okay.
You guys are all, I don't know what I just, are you guys, do you still see yourself on the stage?
I see you.
I see
Hold on.
behind.
Okay, what? I know. I clicked. Okay, there we
go.
Where's Casey?
Self
There we go.
back.
I am so sorry. I was typing and I must have pushed something and it acted up. Anyways, did y'all catch this story? Okay, so remember the Olympian who was arrested for vandalizing the reflecting pool? And I just thought that was a bunch of nonsense. It was just going to go away. There's no way he did what they said he did. But he's actually indicted now. This is crazy.
So stupid. This is so stupid.
So I saw this, I guess it was today, this news, and I was just like, how can this even be happening? So like, I know the bar is low when you're doing a grand jury, indictment, but come on, this is like what evidence do they have?
I told you, I was really surprised that they were indicted. He was indicted. Nothing should surprise me in 2026, but this, I had to be honest, did. And I was like, so we have, let me just be clear about this. We have like rapists on the Supreme Court just doing laws. We have a felon rapist pedophile protector in office, but like, I'll be damned, we're going to indict the Olympic canoeist for putting his hands in the reflecting pond.
Nuts.
Like,
I mean,
insane.
let's pay attention. I guess my larger point is let's see how long it takes for this to get, like, when it actually goes to court before it's dismissed, because this is like nonsense. Okay, so y'all, we're going to talk about the the great fair, the state fair, whatever, in DC. A lot of content on there. But let's set this up with this one clip. Let's watch this.
We went to the kickoff of the Great American State Fair, and usually there's a line of thousands of people outside a Trump rally. We got there 2 hours before the doors opened. There was 40 people there waiting to get in there. And then about an hour and a half before it started, there was less than 1,000 people. And then Trump put out on Truth, 45,000 people were there. I'm like, did 44,000 people come after we left?
You spoke to one of the attendees. I want to play that clip and then talk to you about it on the other side of it. Watch.
He's accomplished more than anyone that has been around, and he's a hard worker, and he's incredible. And, you know, he's like the energy bunny. It's hard to keep up with him.
Is he just running out of juice and falling asleep in these meetings? Why do you think he's falling asleep?
I don't think he's falling asleep. And you know what? Maybe he's not really falling asleep, but he's probably sick and tired of hearing the that's in there in the low life that are in there that don't want to accomplish anything but sit on their frickin' ass and cause problems.
Was this the lady that drank the algae from the reflector?
No. So I think okay, so we know the attendance has been dismal, right? That's hard to deny, and we have more content on there. But I think these are the last hangers on of MAGA. Like, that lady is in another planet, like on another planet with her own reality, not attached to our reality. And I think these are the last few MAGA. MAGA was always a lot smaller than people made it seem, right? They were always like, well, half the country. It wasn't half the country.
These are the children that were left behind that they were worried about. Like, this is what they meant by no child left behind. In fact, they were left behind, and it is these people. I really feel, I'm so serious about this. We are going to have to all learn how to deal with deconstructing from cults, because that is the same level of indoctrination. And I'm not even being funny about this. It's like truly the way it is. Like, when you see people who are deconstructing from these very like these strange cults, but also to some extent like very evangelical faiths as well. We've seen a lot of people have accounts on TikTok and other places where they talk about how they've deconstructed from these like super strict evangelical sects of Christianity, and some of the traditions and some of the practices that they did that were so harmful, and how they believed that was legitimate, and their reality, it's just completely, it's the opposite of what we see. And the cult's so effective, or whatever the reasons for why people get in, the trauma, the lead poisoning, I don't know. But ultimately, we're all going to have to kind of find a way, because as we saw with Nazi Germany, right? It's not like everybody woke up the next day after the war and went, Nazis are bad. That's not what happened. I mean, a lot of people were starting to sour and saw it, but it took a couple years for everybody to sort of begin to understand this was like the extent, right? And I'm not saying all of Germany felt that way. I'm saying that there were people, there were pockets. You know, it's not like everybody fled to Argentina together. People stayed behind and had to be convinced that, you know, that in fact their government had done all of these terrible things. They didn't believe until they saw it with their eyes, until it was shown to them, until, you know, like it took a long time. So the fair is probably one of the worst failures of propaganda that I've ever seen.
Such an optically
history.
Bad. I mean, it's been funny to watch, and it's been, I mean, the content on this has been hysterical. And I just want to be a fly on the wall at the White House, because they have to be hiding under their desks. And it's crazy to me that you have Trump, who's talking about doing a marathon speech. He's got to have been seeing that. Like, do you think they're not letting him see this stuff?
I don't think they're allowing him to see this.
He's never heard of William Henry Harrison. Clearly.
What, Susan? You think what? Sorry, I didn't hear the last.
I think they're keeping it from him.
Okay. Yeah. I think what they've said is he only watches Fox News now and Truth Social. So he used to at least go through
Fox
Twitter.
News right here. They are saying it, thousands of people, and we have eyes, and you can see it's an empty lawn.
Yeah, but he's hearing them, and they're saying thousands of people. So he's like, oh, they're all just in the tents. He, like, you know, he wants to believe that. But I mean, what I'm saying is I don't think he's seeing the pushback that he used to see, because he's now, from what I understand and what they're reporting, he's only on these like channels, and he goes to Truth Social, and I'm sure you've seen it. I've been there. I go there more than I would like to go. And it is really like that, those people, that lady that we just saw, that's who's on Truth Social. telling him he's amazing, believing all the things that it's just this like echo chamber of awfulness. I don't think he's seeing what's happening. And if he does, I think it's being I think it's being kind of rewritten the same way the reflecting pond was, where it's like, oh, there's vandals. Oh, like somebody else has done this. Like it's not anything to do with his administration, even though it is like the best metaphor for this administration and for this country. Like it's the 250th anniversary and it is literally in shambles. It is falling apart.
It's
It is
actually,
crumbling.
you
Literally.
know,
Do you have the
I think
stage
the thing,
like video? Show the
I
Oh my
video
haven't
of
heard.
God,
the
that was so
stage.
scary.
Let's watch
I
this one
know.
video, but I just want to say this too. I don't think we've talked enough about the fact that this really is supposed to be our nation's 250th anniversary, and he has ruined it. It is all
Yeah.
about him. And like, I mean, it's one thing like, I don't feel much like celebrating the 4th of July. Okay, there'll be one next year. But literally, we're not going to have this anniversary again. And he has ruined it. I'll just leave it at that. Let's watch
Call
He
for a
not only
do-over.
ruined it, Chris, he hijacked
What's that?
Yes, he
What'd you
did.
say?
He hijacked it.
He absolutely hijacked it. Absolutely.
I'm saying.
So there's like one ride in the whole fair, and I heard the food's incredibly expensive.
Did you see the girl that did the video that called it the Arc de Dementia?
No. But but you can see like nobody's there. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad. And I heard this ride keeps breaking down. This fair is
shocking.
What I think needs to be publicized more is pictures from 1976.
Yeah.
That is what I thought we would be getting. You know, I was born in 77, so I just missed it. But you know, I grew up very patriotic. I grew up with a mom that taught social studies and really believed in civics education, and I've always been involved in that. And I am a geek that like had visions of what this year would be and how cool it would be and how it would be the ultimate like month before Christmas kind of, you know, the anticipation of the day and the excitement of the 4th of July for this year. And clearly none of that is happening. And there was a great video that was done on TikTok about the specifics of the committee that had been planning this for the past 10 years that I think Susan was alluding to, that Trump just dismantled and put in his own committee. That this was in the planning for a decade to be this massive celebration of all of America. And all of that was just blown up by this man. So it's not only the embarrassment of what is, it is the loss of what we could have had that is so infuriating.
Yeah, and the frustrating part about this is that it's not this was a part of the whole plan that we talked about earlier with the courts, with everything. The Republicans absolutely knew that they would be trying to put somebody in during this time. This was all a part of this. It's not an accident. I think we need to remember that, even though this is funny, it is. And it's funny because it's on his watch, and we know that this is because of the fact that he has abandoned these whole groups of people that were actually planning it, that knew what they were doing, in favor of committees that don't know what they're doing and didn't plan and don't have the budget because it's probably being used for something else that it shouldn't be. Anyway, the point
Yeah,
that
how
I
much
was
is this
making,
costing us? How much is this fair costing us?
millions, but the problem is it was earmarked for this. But again, as to Chris and Susan's points, it was earmarked when it was like there was actually a committee planning it with probably very justified outcomes. And this is this is not what they put that money away for. And I just, as funny as all this is, we also need to remember that it is intentional. And so these are not people who care about this country. These are not people who have patriotism. They should not be allowed to use the word patriot. We need to start taking some of this back from them. And I understand it's really hard because I will be the first to say I used to feel patriotic. I was in DC right after 9/11 for an internship. it was still very unified during that time. Like in the spring of 2002, it was like everybody was kind of, I don't know, there was just an element of like, it doesn't matter what party you were with, like we're all in this together still.
Yeah.
And so that is what I came up into studying politics and government. That's what I was around. And I went to graduate school just outside of DC, and like those vibes were still happening. So I was, you know, looking forward to Kamala Harris being president, because can you imagine the kind of party we could be having right now with a black woman in charge? Oh my
We wouldn't be on
God.
this
Like,
live right now because we would be partying
no,
this whole week.
I would be drunk in the street. Like I would be so happy. I have already sort of mourned that loss, and I think I did it early because I knew this, and I remember driving down GW Parkway on my way to home a couple years ago, thinking about, oh God, like it was like I think 6 months before. I think Kamala Harris had already been named. I couldn't tell you. But it was during the year where they were running, and I was like, we have to elect somebody because whoever gets in gets to plan this.
I
And it was
wasn't
like
even
it
thinking
dawned
about
on
it
me.
at
Oh
that
my God,
point.
but it did. And I don't know why, but I was driving home and I was on the parkway thinking, and I'm like, oh no. And maybe because I had driven past the tidal basin, maybe that's why. I don't know. But I was telling people about it back then because I'm like, you guys, can you imagine what kind of party this man is going to throw? And that was before he had ruined the Rose Garden and torn down the
Yeah.
East Wing. Like it was before all that. Like it was just like, just knowing, have you seen his decor? Have you seen Mar-a-Lago? Like, have you seen his style?
I mean,
This
and
is
I
going to
think
be
this
awful.
whole fair is really emblematic of what he's doing throughout DC. Like everything is
Yes.
shoddy workmanship. It's all for show. It's like a stage set. It's like where it's like not gonna. And to your point, Casey, you were thinking about the anniversary. It's not the bicentennial. I don't know if it has a name. I was more
Can't
upset
ever
about
say it.
the fact that this man is going to preside over the Olympics in Los Angeles as president, my hometown. So, and I want to go to the event. And now I'm like, do I really want to go to the Olympics? Like, I don't know. And after seeing how we've been treating our visiting athletes,
Yes.
I really feel like we have no business hosting the Olympic here. As much as that pains me to say, it's like we are not a host.
I was hoping they would take it away from us. Like, I know that sucks,
that's
but it's like we need
it.
Really sad.
And there's a point where you get so angry at him and you get so angry at the people that voted for him. But then I'm like, okay, they have to have a come to Jesus point. They have to have a point where they say, I made a mistake. And that point is not coming with these people, some of them.
That's a lot of lead poisoning. That's a lot of algae from the pond. I don't know that it ever will, but I think that as we keep talking about on our calls, we don't have to get everyone. And I was on a call early this week with somebody, and she was really stressing out about the fact that she's got all these relatives and they're still, blaming the Democrats, and they're
Yeah.
doing, and whatever. And I said, I get it, but we don't have to save everybody. We have to save a good majority. And if we can get enough majority of people to begin understanding, to be educated, to be able to have these conversations, then those people are either going to go along with it and eventually acclimate, or they're going to leave. Like, or they're going to get arrested for doing something ridiculous. I don't know. Or the lead poisoning really finally takes over. I don't know. But at some point, like, we just need enough people that are willing to move forward, that are willing to recognize this corruption. And I think that we don't have to do as much of it as the economy is doing right now for us. The economy is doing a lot of that work for us because people are getting to the point where they can't buy things, they can't pay rent, the groceries are so astronomical, the corruption. I don't know if y'all saw the lawsuit with the egg companies that had colluded together to raise egg prices.
Yes.
So, like, again, though, when there's so much that's happened and so much freedom that companies have been given by this administration because they rolled back all of these like FDA requirements, that there's just very little policing happening with corporations right now, and they're running away with it. And people are seeing that. People are recognizing that, and they keep seeing things like this. And even if they aren't necessarily related, people are starting to connect dots and say, you know what's happening here? Corporations are getting richer, and I'm not.
Remember,
And
he's
I'm
the
struggling.
anti-regulation president. Like they
Yes.
want to get rid of all regulation.
People are seeing
Whether it
why
be
that's
the
not
EPA
benefit. It's supposed to trickle down. It's supposed,
yeah.
no, it doesn't. And we proved that already with Reagan. That I keep telling you I think I yell about it every week on the live. I'm like, they told us in college, they already knew that Reaganomics was bad. Like that was like 20 plus years ago. Why are we still acting like it's going to
There's
trickle
people that still
down?
believe in trickle down.
I
So
don't
here's
understand.
another clip. Let's show this.
Okay, so earlier today, I checked out the preparations for Donald Trump's 250th birthday party for America, which is having some attendance issues.
Happy early birthday, America. We're celebrating already at the Great American State Fair. Man, we've got thousands of people celebrating this birthday with us.
Sometimes the pictures really don't tell the full story, because if you look behind us, you see, okay, there are a couple hundred people back there, but the truth is when you make your way over here and you're in a wash of people.
There are thousands of people here, and I'll tell you what, that's with rain, with everything else going on, the fact that it is heightened security just because of the world right now. It's really an awesome crowd.
Oh my God.
So
that's what Trump is
sad.
hearing.
This picture really captures the problem. One of the organizers posted this photo of a performance on the National Mall. If you zoom in, let's do it, on the guitarist sunglasses.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. You can see a crowd of less than a dozen people in the reflection. The organizers appear to have recently deleted that image from the social media feed, replacing it instead with this image of the performance, cropping out the guitarist and his really cool shades.
Oh my God.
That's how you know. That's how you know they know. That's how you know they know.
It's crazy to me that Fox set up a whole news set, with that lawn, and they didn't move the set. Like that first day we saw that, everybody on social was like, "Are you guys seeing this?" And they're saying they had the balls to say 1,000, thousands of people, and there was literally dozens at best. And they kept it. Like I would have been like, "Okay, everybody, we got to move this set, to like a small room or something." I mean,
put some flags up, something.
Let me tell you, the problem is, and it always has been, because this isn't new. This isn't even because of global warming or anything like that. DC has never been fun to be outside in July and August and part of September.
It's a swamp.
Susan
a literal
is
swamp.
here. Oh, people get mad when I say that, but I'm like, it is. And so part of what you see is the people who are there, right? Because there are more than like 5 people there, but they're in those tents because they're at least covered, right? Like from the sun. And so, or the rain or whatever. And so when they have these shows where people are performing, there's like literally 5 people out there because there's only 5 people willing to stand out in that blazing hot sun to watch these people because they've gone and taken refuge. So even the MAGA proud that are there are like dying in the heat because there's no AC. Because again, like not only is he tacky, but he's cheap. He's cheap. And that's what people don't realize is
they
that
should have cooling stations. Like they should
and they
have.
don't.
Yeah, it's
because
crazy.
he spends money on stupid stuff and he doesn't do anything correctly. He doesn't do it the right way. That's why when we've seen all the pictures of all the failing like infrastructure, I don't know what we're calling this shoddy like these like
we're getting to
portables
that. We're getting to that, Casey.
But so this is why I mean, like all of that stuff that he's wasted money on instead of cooling stations, people are not able to stay out in that heat. So it's not even like we the liberals are making this up. It's that people just can't withstand this heat. And I'm sure that the organizing committee that was originally in charge of this understood that and had made some sort of provisions or plans or ways to deal with that. And these people didn't.
So to support you on the heat, the receipts, let's watch this clip.
Course on the National Mall. And here's the thing, we're celebrating, of course, all 50 nifty United States, which is great, but the temperatures are also here to party. The current temperature outside right now, by the way, 101 degrees. You factor in the humidity and it feels like 110 degrees outside right now. We have excessive heat warnings that are in effect not just today but through tomorrow, meaning that at times, get this, Brett, it could feel like 115 degrees. But let
There's
me
like
tell you
4
something.
people in the
That
background.
does not stop our true patriots. You can see them up here celebrating on the National Mall, right? Now, here's the thing. The heat, though, certainly keeping the crowds at bay at the Great American State Fair. Plenty of folks still braving the heat to be a part of America's 250th birthday. And hey, if you're thinking about taking a train in, budget some extra.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's got balls.
Hot mess.
Let me, yeah, that's what I titled. I had 2 titles for this. It was either sad hot American summer or hot mess American summer, because oh my god, let me tell you how hot it is right now. I had the AC on. We have like a portable AC that we bring in for a couple of the like really hot summer months here, because some of these houses are just so old they do not have the insulation, and it is so bad right now that I've talked to a couple people that are like in the neighborhood and stuff. And it like we didn't even leave our house today because I mean our kids are sick, but also because it's really bad in terms of the heat right now. And like our dog, we have to let her out in the morning and at night, like because it's just too hot for her. And so the idea that you would willingly go to a giant open field and just stand under that heat, like okay, and this is a really good point that they're bringing up with the trains. Haven't gone down there. I thought about going and getting some footage earlier, but I couldn't go on Monday. And then after that, the temperature spiked. Okay. It's not going to get any cooler the next couple of days. It's getting hotter here.
At least
And
Sunday.
you
Yeah.
can't get to these places super easily, right? Even if you metro, you have to walk. Even if you take a train or you metro, you have to walk. There's no what you can't just drive up and park. Like a lot of these people that are coming from out of town, they're used to being able, like if you go to Disney or whatever, you can usually park and then they'll take the monorail or the tram somewhere. You can't do that here. It doesn't exist. There's no place that's just going to take you from AC to AC. So you're already, before you even get out there to sell, you're already
That
hot.
wouldn't work. Yeah.
You're already tired, and it's just going to get worse. So this is
I
just a
heard
nightmare. Someone's going to die. I'm serious. Like I'm
I'm
worried
really
people are going
surprised
to
somebody
die.
hasn't yet.
there
Yeah.
was a story, Casey, on the news about a woman who was having a heat stroke and she fell in the pool that they had out there for
We have the clip, Susan.
Okay. So since you brought that up, let's go. So talking about heat here.
You were just over in the medical tent being treated. Tell us about how you're feeling.
Now I'm fine, but previously, none of these booths have air conditioning. We don't know what happened, but I started seeing stars.
Oh, really?
And we went to the tent. There's a religious tent because that's the theme for today. And they had a pool. They're baptizing people. But thank God they had the pool. They said, "Do you want to get in?" I go, "Yes, I think I do."
I think I want to be baptized.
I'm soaking wet. But I went to the medic tent. They took care of me. I still got one of these towels. They filled me with electrolytes, but good
Nice folks in there for sure.
Oh, they're wonderful.
They are
absolutely excellent.
DC
excellent.
Fire helped you out.
Well,
You gotta go back to some pool. What the hell?
Oh my
That's crazy. And so Michelle's like, the insulation foam on the fake building is melting, but 100%. I was telling Chris earlier today, I was like, everything's falling apart because like they literally put this together with like hot glue and like hubris. Like everything is just melting and ripping and falling apart. It's not meant for this kind of heat.
Even the trains, even the rails on the trains are expanding, so they're they're having to improvise the schedules.
Yeah. And I'm honestly surprised that it's made it this far. I don't think it'll make it to the 10th. I will be
Why do they
shocked
have
if
baptism?
I think we need to keep an eye on Trump's speech that he's going to give
Yes.
on 4th of July.
Yes. I need
I
to
think
tell
if that
everybody
goes
what
off
to
the
do.
rails, it's over, right?
So here's what we all need to do. Like, I know that we can't all get on Truth Social, but if you can, I think at any point that you hear him
I have
talking
to
about
draw the
wanting to
line
give this
somewhere.
speech, I know. I think we should all be, encouraging him. And we should say, like, I remember when Obama did that like 2-hour speech outside in the heat. Like, I think he was wearing a long coat too. So I don't know if anybody else could do that again. Like, we should just absolutely taunt him that way. Like, and maybe he really does go out there and try to give that long speech in the middle of the day under the sun. And like, he can't make it to the baptism pool, so I don't know. I'm like,
Well, I think that if he goes into the baptismal pool, I mean, it could cause, like a space-time continuum problem there. He's
good.
not
Maybe
gonna.
it gets us back to the other timeline because I don't want to be on this one.
All right, so Michelle in the comments mentioned the caulking. So you can see it oozing out there.
Ew.
I mean, the whole thing, that looks like it's going to fall and hit somebody's head, to be honest. That corner
Well, and
there.
you got the stage video. It
Yeah,
did.
Before we move on to the stage, let's stick with this arch. And he's supposed to build this monstrous arch in the middle of DC overlooking Arlington Cemetery. But this I didn't know. Watch this.
Facades at Trump's Great American State Fair turned out to be nothing more than printed images.
They're printed.
I don't want to touch it because you know how they feel about touching things around here.
The woman recording joked about those printed images stapled onto flat surfaces to make them look three-dimensional.
Quality craftsmanship. America. American workers.
America.
Horrible.
Wow.
Horrible.
Yeah, I put a video up too. I think it's a couple back on mine, and you can see the woman running her hand across it and how it is like just flat. It's like contact paper.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, and it is not meant for the heat, is it? Because it's hilarious.
He doesn't speak until 9 p.m.
Adhesive fails in hot, weather in the heat.
Yeah. Okay. At some point, wow. What are we doing next? Because I do want to talk about the fireworks.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's do that.
Yeah,
let's watch. You mentioned the stage, so this excellent stage here. I mean, first of all, somebody could have really gotten hurt.
Yeah,
they didn't. But
I'm sorry.
No, you have to. That's crazy.
If you look where it is, and there had been some bands performing, like concert bands, like big bands performing on there. That is where musicians would have been sitting. Someone would have been seriously injured or killed.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I saw that and I was like, that's like I thought it was going to be heat stroke, but actually now it might be falling debris.
I think if the crowd were larger, I think you would be having heat stroke. Like, I think it's just, I think they're lucky it is. I mean, Trump doesn't give a fuck, but it's so poorly attended that people can space out. But, people get, like, when you're in those huge crowds and it's hot, people pass out. It's just the way it goes.
I mean, they have the emergency personnel to handle it right now because there's like 5 people there, right? They've got like, a small high school football team in attendance. They can handle it. That if it were like actual massive crowds, like they would be struggling to deal with the fallout, I think.
They'll all be running for the baptism pool.
That's right. Michelle was like,
I am
that's
very
susceptible.
I am very susceptible to heat stroke, so I would probably end up a Christian by the end of it.
Amen. I am too. That's why I wouldn't even go. Like I can't stay out for a long period of time.
You're not getting through the 4th without somebody having an incident because of, and I'm sure you were going to talk about this, him pushing the fireworks back to 11.
Yeah.
The fact that you're going to have people out for that long.
Why did he do that? Do we know why?
He said the heat, and that he absolutely wanted to do his speech, and
right.
So, but if there are going to be any crowds of any significance, it would be at that time, and so I hope they have some kind of contingency plan. Though, given what we've seen, I doubt it.
I don't think so. And the problem that people, what they don't understand here is when it's this kind of heat and humidity, it's oppressive and it stays. Like I could go outside right now. Let me just see. I'll tell you what the temperature is. So it's 87 right now at almost 11 p.m. at night.
And horrible humidity.
It still feels like 90 degrees. So
at 11
and
o'clock.
that's not even the hottest day yet. Yeah. So it's not like it just drops and gets cooler. It's going to have that in a sustained way. People are not, there's no reprieve. And if there's not air conditioned spaces, if there's not places for people to take refuge, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. People
I think
waiting
about-
that
I
long.
don't
And 2
why they don't
hours
just-
is crazy.
Is there
to
free
delay that.
water? You know, are there enough bathrooms that people would want to? But I think about that, like these are the things that when you're organizing an event, these are the things you think about. Like if there aren't enough bathrooms, people don't drink as much because they don't want to have to go to the bathroom. You're going to kill someone.
Chris,
by decisions like
100%.
that.
Oh,
There's a pool. There's a baptism pool.
Okay, well, it's not that big, the pool.
I'm sorry.
No, this is the problem is that none of these people have you just have to have the most casual relationship with project management to understand that this is a shit show. Like you don't need a lot of experience planning something to go, hey, like we should probably have XYZ. And of those things, there should be like shelter, bathrooms, and water and emergency personnel. And not things that can't withstand a summer in DC. I'm like, have these people never been to DC? Where's this committee? I don't think there is one. I think it's like one person probably submitting receipts after they've, I don't know, gone to Michael's and Home Depot and like all this stuff. Like it's not even as if somebody thought this out. I really do feel like he's just telling people random things. I don't know, because that's what it looks like.
I
mean, that looks like Nazi Germany, but I mean, like the rest of it.
Okay.
I'm saying.
So we saw this post on Truth Social.
Wait, sorry, Susan. What were you saying? I cut Susan off.
I said
Sorry.
I was laughing, but I like Chris's point. You know, where are the bathrooms? I mean, when you have that many people, and are they cooling stations?
I don't have a photo, but there are porta potties. But there is, and there's no line. There's no wait to get in. So that's the bright side. If you need to pee, you won't have a problem. Okay, so we saw that on to Casey's point. Yes, Nazi Germany. That's immediately what I thought of. So I posted this side by side. After I saw that, I realized this has American, whatever. There's some history there, and I think a lot of people freaked out because we thought this was
history.
This was another thing that he did to the White House. We thought because he's putting gold everywhere. Turns out that was AI. But the fact that he's even thinking that shit is really annoying. He's also doing a helipad without, he just snuck this in. And that's kind of crazy because we noticed, remember, so after the fight, there was that clearing, and this is where the helipad is going. So like this is after the fight, he's putting a helipad on the south lawn, and it looks huge.
I'm really upset about this.
Yeah. So watch. So there's the first I heard about it was in this video. I guess this is MS Now that did this video, or it might have been NBC. Watch this video.
A construction zone because the president.
So that is the helipad right there. That's where it's going to go. That's huge, right?
Which is currently a construction zone because the president, it appears, is planning to put a new helipad in. There is, of course, also all of that gold that has been plastered onto the walls of the Oval Office over the last 18 months. And then if you go over to the Rose Garden, the grass was pulled up and replaced with a Mar-a-Lago-esque patio. And then there's the Presidential Walk of Fame. And here, just this month, there was that UFC fight over by the White House, and the grass on the ellipse has been almost wholly damaged because of it. Now, when you come to the White House, essentially you're still in an active construction zone. That crane overhead, of course, has been working on that several $100 million ballroom, the East Wing that has been replaced, and then other projects of which we don't have all the details on. And then there's this renovation happening of the North Portico here, these columns getting worked on actively. He's also, of course, he's talked about painting the building next to the White House where a bunch of the executive offices are. He's talked about painting this building white. As you can see, it's still its natural stone now, but who knows? Of course, you'll remember the last year he put in 2 very large flagpoles with flags on them on the north and south lawns. And I'm actually across here from the White House now over at Lafayette Square Park, where the president was spotted just the other day appearing to inspect potentially trees. Our friends of the Washington Post are reporting that the park, which is not yet back open to the public, well, he wants 47 trees here. Yes, 47 for being the 47th president.
So let's back up here. Let's go through this. But Casey, didn't you find something they're taking away some of the cherry blossom trees?
Yeah, so there's some talk about removing the cherry blossom trees, and I don't know if Michelle, if you're still here in the comments, but there was talk about them adding a golf course or whatever, and they were going to need to tear down the trees to do that. I think you can see along the tidal basin that there's all kinds of construction, and when you go into the city near the White House, to their point, you can see all the cranes and stuff. It really is a mess. Like, if I was shocked when I went in a couple weeks back how much had changed just in the few months that since I had been in the city. Because like my kid's pediatrician is in there. Like we go in the city regularly, and I thought a lot had changed just in that short period of time.
So here's the helipad, and just to remind everybody, this used to be a green lawn. And when the Air Force, the Marine One would land there, they would put they would bring out a temporary helipad. And I mean, they've been doing this way for decades. So I don't know what the problem was, but he'll probably put a T on it for Trump. I don't know.
100%.
So we've been watching
He'll name it. He'll call it like the Trump helipad or whatever. And
so this is the Oval Office, which is gaudy as hell, and all of those are stickers. So we can't be too mad at that because that should be easy to fix. The Rose Garden is no more. It's a parking lot.
And it's an outlet food. It's an outlet mall food court.
Yeah.
It's so ugly.
And then we have this Walk of Fame. I think this is pretty bad. This is
one
I'm sure
of the
all
worst.
Of these decals will come down. But like what he did and like put those comments like it's social media posts.
But it's not only that.
Presidents.
It doesn't even match. Like
no, it doesn't.
I don't care if they're the same from picture. Like when you see pictures, it does not look the same. So it's like whoever did this didn't think about how it would photograph. Like
he is not having an interior designer worth anything to do with this shit. Like there's no.
It is so
put your name on this.
Ugly.
He's his own interior designer.
Yes,
he's doing this.
This is his aesthetic. And if this is your aesthetic, I'm not gonna apologize. It's ugly as fuck. Like, and you need to like commune with somebody that has good taste, because that's a problem. And you want to take that shit and put it in your own house, that's your business. But you don't put it on the people's house. And that's what this is our house. It's not your house. And that's the problem, is that like this is supposed to be representative of our nation, not like his like what are we calling this? This is like
I think he really wants it to look like Versailles. I think that's
like
that's
Versailles,
what he's going
but
for.
Like, what's the gross version of that? Like
gross?
On steroids, like but
Gross.
Drunk and like
Mar-a-Lago.
I don't know.
That's the gross version of it.
So speaking of this Walk of Fame, remember, I don't have the clip, but remember he was talking about I'm putting a new slate, and it's not even a US slate, it's imported slate. And he's like, I'm paying for it, because he was asked who's paying for it. And he's like, I am. We're paying for it. It came out this last week or this week that taxpayers are paying for this imported slate that is going in this horrendous Walk of Fame. There you have the ellipse, which I've walked through it before. I was at a White House event and I was trying to cut over to a restaurant. I remember a bunch of greenery and shrubs and flowers. It's all gone. And mature foliage, if you've ever tried to buy mature foliage and have it installed at your house, it's quite expensive. But money's no object, because I'm sure we'll be paying for whatever he plans on doing.
Think about it like this. If Vladimir Putin was sitting in the Oval Office trying to destroy our country, he couldn't do more. He couldn't do a better job than what Trump is doing. He destroyed the White House, the reflecting pool. He's trying to destroy the cherry blossoms, the cherry trees that are iconic in DC.
Yep.
Destroying the inner peace and the cohesiveness of our country. Destroying the American dream and what it means to come to the United States for peace and freedom and opportunity and liberty, and to escape from tyranny and claim asylum. All of that is gone. all of that is gone, and are standing in the world with our allies. Our allies.
Yeah.
He's destroying our alliances.
We're a laughing stock. Do y'all know what is happening with the columns? Because he mentioned that the columns were being worked on. What was wrong with them?
I think they're gonna gild them with gold on the top.
Or like faux marble them, maybe. I mean, this is gonna be
Martha
so
Stewart
bad.
marbling kit.
You know, the point, Chris, that is the people's house.
It is. He's a guest. He does not own this property.
Yes.
He is a temporary resident. And I'll say it again, this is not something that you do if you're planning on leaving in 2 years.
Right.
This is not
not the
normal
helipad,
behavior.
not the
So to all of our freak out, he tore down the East Wing after saying he wasn't going to. They were just doing a little bit to put in the ballroom.
But that's okay because we're all checking our 401ks in our stocks.
I think about my own house. My house was built in 1870. And so when I've lived in my house for 18 years. When I'm doing anything to my house, I really have respect for that because I view my house as I am a caretaker of this house. This house was around long before me, and I hope that it will be around long after me. And so I really have some reverence for the way I take care of my property. The fact
I'm
that
practically crying from that. I want a tour of your house. That sounds awesome.
The fact that he is doing this to the White House just shows such a lack of respect.
Such a lack of respect.
It's hard, y'all, because it's well, I mean, Susan can speak to this because she's from here too. As you get closer into the city, there are a lot of very historic spots here, right? Like the history is everywhere. It's not like, Florida where you like turn around and it's a new subdivision and everything looks new. Here in DC is one of the older places, right? Like it's similar to, like where you would go in Philadelphia or some of these other where you see there's a lot of houses in Old Town that were from the 1800s, right? And so the same thing goes for DC. When you get in, you can see a lot of these very old buildings. And yeah, there was different architecture, there were different periods of buildings, right? But they all did try to use that kind of neoclassical, like they tried to make it blend, is what I'm saying. And now there's some departure in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, I'll be honest about. I don't like that. But for the most part, a lot of the buildings look storied and like historic. And even if they weren't around in the 1800s, they like look like they maybe might have been or whatever. This man is just does not care about any of that history. He's like, it's just weird because everyone else has sort of honored that. And it's strange to walk through the city or drive through the city and know that that's just being completely bulldozed.
The Eisenhower building is
if they paint that building white that we see on the screen
Yeah,
right now.
so that was built in
stone
1871, like in the late 1800s. I've been in that building, and the outside of it, I'll be honest, it's not my favorite architecture. It's not, but it's definitely so. It's on the White House grounds. There's a street, but it's closed off between the White House and the Eisenhower building. It's definitely a different color, a different architecture. I think you should respect the history of the Eisenhower building. That is where the original war room was and is. Gorgeous room. As far as I know, he's not touching the inside, but like that's where the vice president's office is. They do have a lot of meetings over there. It's a much larger building than the White House. All of that is slate. The siding is slate, and he wants to paint it freaking
You don't
white.
paint that.
You do not paint
just
that.
don't.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you are going to paint it, you don't let Trump do the no bid contract and hire the worst possible painter that's going to put like water-based paint up there or something because it's cheaper and it's just going to start peeling. This is what we're getting with all of his projects. They're all going to be in shambles shortly after he's gone.
It's the same
and
architecture.
Think about that poor canoeist the Olympic athlete who was arrested.
We talked about that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just outrageous. And imagine if Barack Obama had done any of this. That's all you have to do is say,
oh my
what if
God,
Barack
that's
Obama
the thing.
did this?
Yeah.
Well, and it's like all of this style, like it makes sense because the way that the city was gridded out and the and how Lafayette, like how much of an influence that he had. So there's a lot of French architecture and a lot of nods to French architecture in the city. And it's nice because again, like there is a nod not only to our history and how we got here, but also the multiculturalism that this whole country is built on, right? Like there is this very wide, diverse um, assortment of people that come from many backgrounds, and I like the idea that we pull some of that in and represent that. Not to mention the fact, like, we didn't even get into the point about who built some of this, like, right? We haven't even talked about, like,
Well, slaves built the White House,
this is
enslaved
what I'm
people.
saying.
So,
We haven't
yeah.
talked about that part either. And so coming in and tearing down some of these historic structures that were built by enslaved people that's a whole other layer of problem, right? Like
The East Wing is relatively new. Like I think it was built in the 50s or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's not the only one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They want to keep cutting and taking. And I'm saying when you're dealing with a history of a nation that was founded on the backs of enslaved people, then at some point you're going to be treading on that as well. And that's a problem. So, and that's not, I haven't heard anybody really talking about that. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, well, he's only done this, this, and this, but look at, he's done this, this, and this. Like, what's going to stop him from doing the next thing and the next thing and so on and so forth? And just, I mean, this is a man who has zero respect or reverence for any of these things, which, is a problem given the fact that our history is troubled and we haven't done the necessary reparations. We haven't done the work that we need to do to even honor, like, the ancestors that built the city. And now this man's coming in and tearing it down before we can even do that.
And
a
to
real
Michelle's
problem.
point in the comments, this is going to cost us, the taxpayers, $1 billion. I mean, that's absurd and obscene, especially when we were promised that we weren't going to have to spend a dime. That's,
I mean,
just
especially
outrageous.
when people are going to die of heat stroke watching this stupid, like, anniversary celebration, like, but he'll spend $1 billion gazillion dollars, like, on
I like that one, so I put it up.
Ew.
So gross.
Has anybody seen the recent post where he's a doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh God, it was so bad.
I want Robert De Niro to sue him over that.
And Rosie O'Donnell and Whoopi Goldberg and all the others that were included in that video. Outrageous.
Oh my God.
AI is so scary.
Yeah, it is. I've gotten a couple ads, like that pop up on stuff, and the how they're telling people to buy their AI products of like, here, you can make a video. Imagine what you could do. And it's like a guy fantasizing about a woman. And it's like, you can put your pictures here and we can make scenarios for you. And I'm like, this is awful. Like, I can't believe you're just telling people this. It's crazy. Like that AI is problematic.
Well, I don't mind this because his other
creative AI.
His
like
other
the
one
that
was
I'm
AI with his freaking eagle. Okay.
Oh, this is not. This is just like CGI effects, whatever. But I'm talking about the.
Yeah. All right. So
your voice,
like what he's doing, like where he's impersonating people. Yeah.
So what did we find out this week? That he has enriched himself. He is grifted to the point of $2.2 billion. This is a list of where he got his money from. The world, here, let me move this so we can see it a little better. World Liberty Financial, almost 800 million. Meme coin sales, 636 million, which I will say, not that I feel sorry for anybody. A lot of the people that bought that meme coin, he got rich. They ended up losing a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago, guests are piling in and paying top dollar to go. That's $77 million, including foreign dignitaries. And Trump's National Doral Golf Club, 122 million. So I think the really concerning part is the World Liberty Financial and the meme coin sales. Now that's not even talking about his sons, the profiteering.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Because Nick was just saying this last night. My husband was talking about this. And he was like, oh, well, he made X amount of dollars on that meme coin. And I had totally forgotten about on the crypto stuff because I had covered that last year.
You made a ton.
And I found out all about that. And I was like, first of all, this is the biggest scam. I can't believe anybody would fall for it in the first place, but okay. But so I was saying, he's going to die soon. Like, I don't care. Like, this man is not living forever and he is going to die. But he's going to leave all of this to his children who are also a part of this and benefiting. And I would like to just put this forward now that we need to start talking about accountability and who's going to be paying back the taxpayers.
We need to claw back that money from his.
That's
we
what
need
I'm
to
saying.
sue his estate into oblivion.
100%. And I don't want to hear anything about people feeling bad for Ivanka or any of his kids. Jared, what is the other one? Jared's her husband.
Jared Kushner has got his own fortune that he's been making.
This is all of these people are bad people. They're all in deep. They know what they're doing. They're all a part of this. And we cannot forget that once this guy dies. Like that, everybody has to pay it back. Everyone. I want all that money back. This is crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a $620 million business loan plus a $50 million incentive. That was from the DOD, plus a $50 million incentive from the Department of Commerce for one of Trump's ventures. $14 million here, another $40 million here. They're involved in all of these, high-tech companies. And, if I had a high-tech company, of course I'd say, come be part of my board of directors. Because then it's like almost a guarantee that you're going to get a government contract. This is our taxpayer dollars. And
this is crazy.
And there's been no documents where they're or no research into how much money these guys are making from it. So they're making all this money. It's completely shrouded in secrecy. And
there's no transparency.
And
I was surprised he released all this information in his financial disclosure. And I still bet it's underreported. I do not think
that's the point. This is what he told us, which means it's so much worse. And I keep saying this every day. I'm like, the forensic accounting team that we're going to have to get in here to audit all of this and go through this. I am not kidding. The way that I'm so tempted to go back to school, I don't have any degree in finance. I don't have any degree in anything to do with this, but I'm ready to go back. I took calculus, whatever the third level of math is, that's calculus in college. I did that. I could do this. I want to go back and learn this so that I can sign up to be a part of this team, because I want to figure out where all of our money went and who got rich doing it. I want to go after every single person that fucked over this country, because I'm like, the way these people are so greedy,
and they need to keep track of interest. They need to pay it back with interest.
I mean, some of the stuff they're bragging about, they're going on the news, they're going on Fox, and they're bragging about this $48 million government contract that the company that they're now the chief advisor for just nabbed from the government. They're doing it in plain sight. So, I mean, I don't even think you need to be a forensic accountant. All you have to do is be able to read the newspaper. I mean, it's insanity.
You know what? The Times did reporting on this. I mean, a couple months ago that he's made $2 billion. Since he was inaugurated. All right, so how I love my side-by-side videos. So here's one on his corruption.
Sons who are right here, Don and Eric, are going to be running the company. They are going to be running it in a...
Let me just say, this is back in 2017, first term.
Yeah, I can see the...
very professional manner. They're not going to discuss it with me.
He is completely isolating himself from his business interests. He is not exploiting the office of the presidency for his personal benefit. No new foreign deals will be made whatsoever during the duration of President Trump's presidency.
The Trump administration has the most public corruption and allegations and reporting on corruption of any modern administration. Trump actually brought up to $5 million in Axon stock, and exactly 2 weeks later, his administration posted what had been in the works, what some people were already aware of, a coming $200 million contract with that company. It hasn't been awarded yet. The specifications do appear tailored for only Axon products, according to our sister outlet, CNBC. And then you have Trump's relationship with the president of Kazakhstan. the New York Times, with a big, well-researched report that Trump was personally lobbying to get an American company mineral rights there. And the U.S. government was involved in helping get the financing over $1 billion. Now, if that was just him advocating for U.S. business, well, that might be a good thing. And yet his personal involvement in a specific deal looked a little different within weeks when a firm joined with other partners to take a 20% stake in the Kazakhstan-related project, and that is owned by Don Jr. and Eric Trump. This is the kind of thing that isn't immediately obvious, but the New York Times did its homework.
All right. So,
and also he invested in Geo Group like the day after he got sworn in, and
they're the ones that do all of our
every
prisons.
single
prisons.
Yeah, detention that he has, all those immigrants that are being tortured, he's making money off of that. That's really disgusting.
I mean, and I want to also stress the fact that, I'm not saying that corruption did not exist before, okay? Nobody's being naive and saying that didn't happen. But we are saying that they had to jump through some hoops. Like, these companies had to work harder. They had to work harder to get the contracts through the RFP process. Like, it wasn't just a given that you were going to automatically just get a contract on something. And now, with the absence of those and all these no bid contracts, these companies are just like walking up and like just taking it. And that's not how it's been previously done. And there is less transparency for that, and they're having to prove less, and consequently they can be less competent, like as we're seeing with the fair. Like, and I mean, that's just a temporary structure, but it's the same concept, right? Like, there's not, these people are putting in shoddy materials because there isn't the same degree of oversight and competition that there would have previously been, which is ironic given the fact that that's what they claim would happen if we had socialized medicine, which is not true, number one. But then they're the ones out here doing it with their company that's their best friend, or their like brother's company that they're letting come in and just do whatever, and they're taking all the money and they're running with it.
And just think about like Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
Yes.
And how he was in, he got a job on the board of directors of Burisma. They didn't get any government contracts, right?
Yeah.
And the right wing lost their shizzle. We need to memorize the names of all of these companies. And we need to be talking about them at the 4th of July. We need to be putting email chains together to our MAGA uncles who sent us all kinds of crazy shit. And everyone that we see at the post office. Did you hear about Don Jr.'s company, y'all. Vulcan, that got $620 million of your taxpayer dollars? How do you feel about that? No bid contract?
I think they don't care is the problem, because I really think that they believe that these people are the best suited, the most patriotic. Like, they are the people that it's like a monarchy to
the
them.
Entitlement.
I saw something today that was even worse that I hadn't seen before, and I forget the creator that did it, but that was equating this to prosperity gospel, in that one of the reasons that you can have poor people tithing to millionaire televangelists is because they believe in prosperity gospel. They believe that the reason they have that money is because God has anointed them to have that money, and that the hardcore MAGA have simply transferred that belief to Trump. That it's fine,
and that's why they're okay being poor. Also,
It
that's
is-
why
I was going to say MAGA
okay
isn't known for being affluent.
No,
It's
and
fine that he's
they're
getting
all
these
right with that.
contracts. It's fine that he is making this money. I would do it. I would take advantage of it. And that is God saying that he is our worthy savior, and he is being given this money as his reward.
Completely
There's a
cuckoo.
tie through to this, by the way, that's been all through the whole time, which is this like suffering for Christ. So they are actually, I'm not kidding, like, it's a whole thing. So like when you talk about the economy and all the things that are happening in job loss and everything that is connected to this administration that they're causing directly, there's this belief and mindset by these Christians that this is a part of their like obligation to God, and that their journey to God, and that they're going to spend such a tiny fraction of time here and an infinity in heaven. And so it's fine that they suffer here, because that's a part of their loyalty and their gift to God. It's like
But I
really
think
awful.
that's like when you talk about like the MAGA and the evangelicals,
Yes,
but
yes,
there's a
yes, yes, yes,
lot
yes,
of
yes.
like independents and a lot of people who are low information voters that
Yes.
we just got to get better with the whataboutism, because the
That's
right
right.
is constantly like, all, but what about Hunter Biden? But what about Libya? But what about Hillary Clinton? What about the emails? We've got to get like, okay, what about Don Jr.? What about Barron Trump, who's 20 years old and is like on the board of directors of a yerba mate company? What the hell does he know about yerba mate, which is a South American, mainly Argentinian, like coffee type drink, like very kind of bitter.
What does he know about anything? Oh
What does he know about
God.
it? What does he know about running a company? And he's on a board of directors. I mean, it's just insanity.
Well, he was going to run TikTok for a while, right? Remember,
Yeah,
they were going
he's
to give
on
him
the
that.
board of TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is so true. We need the revenge factor. Like, none of us have, I don't know what it is on the left, but it's like our memory for revenge is very short. And the Republicans, like, if you took their quarter from the Aldi cart like 20 years ago, they would remember. Like, they would never let you forget it. And that's real and serious. Like, we have to find a way to not only fight dirty, but like, this is actually vengeance that is justified. So really, like, we need to hold on to that. And like, I guess maybe a Google Doc. Like, I'm not really sure how you do this, but like,
Anyway,
it needs
I'm
to
sure
be front
somebody's
of
keeping
mind.
notes. We will have to find the list because
Front
we're
of
going to need a
mind.
list for his articles of impeachment.
Seriously.
All right. So Susan mentioned this earlier, but we know who doesn't give a fuck. It's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Your financial disclosure shows you had a very lucrative year last year. What message does this send to average Americans, especially those who may be struggling right now financially?
I don't get involved in my personal. We have funds that run my money.
To critics who say you're profiting off the presidency, Mr.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. Do you have a 401k? How's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump. So we're all profiting. I'm profiting because I have a lot of money and a lot of cash. And
that infuriated me because my son, has cystic fibrosis.
Yes.
And he eats like 3 times the amount of a normal person his age. And he said to me, I can't afford food, so we go to bed early. That God, that makes me, that comment I lost my shit.
Because
I don't even know if
there are
out
other
of touch is the
families that
right
are-
word for this, because he
Yeah.
clearly is out of touch, but he's so narcissistic.
No, it's a
He
disregard.
doesn't care
It's a-
about any of us. But
Yeah.
one thing he constantly goes back to is the stock market. And we know the stock market is not the economy. Very few Americans, relatively speaking, are private investors. A lot of Americans do have 401ks that actually, you guys, do invest in these ICE detention facilities, GEO, like against your will. Like, you may not realize it.
Yeah.
Right.
They're holding stock in that in your 401k. But Americans are not like, oh, well, I had to pay double the price of groceries, but hey, my 401k went up. That's not that. People are hurting right now, and this guy does not care, and he does not. I don't even know if he doesn't realize it or what. I think he's in such a bubble. Like, he feels so entitled to this new Air Force One that was gifted by the Qatari government, that we had to pay a fortune to bring up to speed. I do have a question, since I don't have any content on that, you guys, but one question I've had, and I haven't seen it. Usually there's 2 Air Force One, like there's a double, right? And they both go where the president goes, especially if it's to a foreign country. There's only one of these Qatari jets. They're building 2 new Air Force Ones from scratch that will have this color scheme. But so he's basically, not that I'm worried about his safety, mind you, but that this doesn't seem safe, honestly. And I would assume they've used top technology to sweep it for bugs and all that, because it did come from Qatar. Anyway, I digress.
You would
I
hope.
mean, just I would think that you should continue talking about that very loudly on socials. Like, just, I mean, let people know. Like,
I mean,
there
since we're on
it
that
is.
page, I'm actually shocked. Like, I feel like we're sitting ducks right now for terrorism, because our whole CIA and FBI, it's chaos over there. No disrespect to career people in those agencies, but the leadership is just a train wreck. And so if I were a terrorist, I'd be like, well, now's my time. So I think we're lucky. I think we've been very lucky.
We should be worried about it because, terrorists go for soft targets. They don't go for hard targets. And so that puts every single American in danger. And when you think about the people who he's appointed to these important domestic and international security positions, the fact that he's asking for the name of every single covert operative, and I guess the intelligence agency lost their shit about that. They're like, no, we don't trust you. The fact that he's a convicted felon and he had documents stored in his bathroom and in his ballroom, and who knows what he was doing with it. I mean, we cannot trust him. We cannot trust him to keep us safe. We cannot trust him with the nuclear codes. It's really scary, but I don't want to freak you out too much because you have to live your life, right?
Well, I will give you some solace, which is this, right? Like, when we were growing up, there was always this thought of terrorists and whatever. And we are the terrorists now. Like, I am so sorry. Like, I didn't hold your hand when I said that, but we are the terrorists.
I'm the one
now.
who knocks.
So yeah, I just I don't know. But yeah, that I worry going forward, though, when we have these big events. Not the American State Fair. No one's there. But I mean, when we have mass attended
the World
events,
Cup. Like the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like the Olympics, in places things like that, where people are buying tickets and traveling from all over the country. And it's when there's multiple venues, there's a lot there. And these people can't even manage a damn they can't even put this thing together for what is it, a week and a half? That's the 250th anniversary. You've had 250 years, bro. And here we are. You had plenty of notice that this was coming up, and this is what you put together. So I don't know. It makes me concerned about future events like the Olympics, where there's a lot of moving parts, and I don't care if it's been done before. It's still, the government still has a responsibility. And I don't know that this government, because it's been absolutely picked apart intentionally on purpose, and it's a skeletal framework, or I don't know, something with contact paper and oozing. What is the stuff that the foam stuff that they
Caulking.
Okay, great, that too.
And the longer this goes on, the more of those people that were holding it together, those career people in all of the different agencies, they are either going away of their own volition or being fired. And I don't know if we're segueing, but the Supreme Court just opened the floodgates for that this week in basically taking all the guardrails off of being able to fire anybody and going back to the spoils system. And so you're going to end up in all of these agencies with even more people that are incompetent, that are politically aligned with Trump, but may have no expertise in any kind of area. And that lack of expertise will trickle down through their agencies. This is going to get so much worse.
It's so bad. And I know that fear mongering is impactful, and the Republicans do it all the time, and we don't do enough. This is just reality. I'm not even fear mongering. The amount of work that it's going to take to not only fix, but we're going to have to assess. We're going to have to really like assess the losses that we've had and the departments that we have them in, and try to figure out what, like, how to triage even, like, right?
And
Like
the
what we're going to do
institutional
first.
knowledge that is just
Right.
gone, that
Is
will
gone.
never be replaced.
And
But
these
here's
people,
the thing, guys. Here's the thing. And I don't, because there's a lot of doom and gloom because things are just complete shit right now. But when you think back in history of all the things that people have had to endure, like the civil rights, like the Civil War, like the Revolutionary War, the great thing about the United States and Americans in general is we've got this like can-do spirit. So it is going to take a lot, but if we actually fight for it, if we have hope, if we say we're going to do it, like that's what happens in autocracies. Like when they're taken over and people try to get back to the democracy, you know what gets them back is hope. So
we'll do
everybody
it, but I just
Yeah.
I need to prepare. I feel like I need to prepare everybody because it needs to be said, and that's why we need to be talking about this, is because I need people to have that patience when Democrats do come in, because I need people to understand how long this is going to take. It isn't a doom and gloom thing. It's a reality check for when we get elected and we have people and politicians that are in place, that this isn't going to happen overnight. And that if you look and say, well, this isn't running this way, or this is like, we need to understand the damage that he's done is going to be lengthy, and it's going to take a lot of time and cleanup and patience from the American people in understanding what that is. And I know part of our job is educating people on that. And so I'm like, to that point, yes, we will continue to do that education. But I think going forward now, like, we need to be also very honest about how prolific this damage is, so that people have a really good appreciation for what's coming next and how long it's going to take. Because otherwise, I mean, I really do think that there's a lot of people, like you said, low information voters that like don't really understand civics. The same people we were talking about earlier that don't understand that the Supreme Court actually doesn't take all the cases, right? The same people that think that it's just going to be like, oh, like, well, we'll just, we'll take the gold down. We'll just take the gold down off the walls and it'll be fine, right? Like, those people need to be prepped for how long this is going to take, and we need to be having those
also
conversations.
accept the fact that when he's gone, when there's the next Democratic president and our Congress is Democrat, we're not going to get back to normal by just reaching across the aisle. Like, we need to we do not need to make friends and try and make agreements with folks that were literally trying to prop up a dictator. No,
we send them. They have to go by the way of Argentina or wherever we're sending Nazis these days. And I would say also, to the point of Milena, which is like, there's hope. I would say what I like to connect all of this to is the fact that this is like, we are getting somewhat of a clean slate in some respects. And so not only do we get to claw back and take back what was before, but we get to make it better. So things like the court reform and like healthcare, for instance, like everybody's getting healthcare now. We're not doing that thing where we sort of like, nope, everybody's getting that. We're like, there's a lot that we can demand change for, term limits, like all of these things that before would have been maybe really difficult to do, because everything's going to be difficult to do now. It's like, just throw it all in the pot. Like, we're going to get it all done. So I
women's
say
rights,
just have really,
voting reform, criminal justice
all that's
reform,
getting done.
all of
Ice
it.
cream on Fridays for everybody.
Let's do it.
Bring your dog to work day.
Yes.
So,
Better than
all right.
kids.
So, speaking of Air Force One, Trump took the inaugural flight, which I ain't showing you that, to North Dakota for the Teddy Roosevelt library. Which, was that not existing? He's just now getting a library. I'm confused. But anyway.
Apparently he's still alive, so that's.
And I don't know if you saw it, but there was a horse, you know how normally the police cars are in front of the beast, in front of his motorcade. There were cadets or whatever on horses, but here he's speaking.
$150,000 to support the opening exhibits during the first year, so they're getting a nice check.
Oh, exhibits was what he was saying. I was trying to understand what
So
he
he
was
slurred
saying.
his words there. I mean, he is seeming more and more crazy. Not that part, but everyone was panning him on this.
Well, I appreciate those words. Those words are fantastic, and I just want to say it's an honor to be with you today. We are making a little bit of a tour, some of the fantastic things you've done.
So, okay, if I'm being charitable, the AI of Teddy Roosevelt, so he's having a conversation like Teddy Roosevelt
He was
is
playing
in his
along.
cabinet.
There are a lot of things to criticize him about.
I was
but
just getting there,
taken
Chris.
full
So
That's what
basically,
I thought. I
so
was
this
really
is
hoping that's what it
interactive.
was.
A lot of people on
Yeah.
social were saying, "Oh, he's crazy." I was
No.
one of them, but this is an interactive display.
Okay, thank you, because that's what I told you in the message. I was like, I thought he was just playing. I thought he was just being
He's
funny.
playing
and
along.
all that.
Honestly, this came from HQ. This video, and a lot of
But
people ran
listen,
with it. So
Chris Quinn, I'm gonna say this because you did what I did, which is like try to be reasonable. We need to stop that. We
I
need
don't
to let
care.
them roll with he's crazy. Like we need to stop
Because he
being
is.
reasonable and being like, you know what? But do we know for sure that he is?
No.
Probably not. So actually, he's crazy.
And
Like
And
we
I think
need
of
to
all the
stop.
other shit that he does that is crazy, like the
right.
doctor post where he puts himself like 30 years younger as a Dr. Trump and then makes Robert De Niro and Whoopi Goldberg and
do
all
you
these
remember all the
Rosie
videos of
O'Donnell.
Biden like tripping a little bit, and they did
Yeah.
the like loop version of it? I mean, this is
Yeah.
like that. Somebody showed me a video, and they're like, "Is this true?" I'm like, "I don't know." Of Trump letting out the meanest fart. Okay, and I personally don't think it was true because it was so loud on the mic. We've heard other ones of him fart that are like a little more realistic. But honey, you know what? Go. I don't care. I don't care. So it's getting bad in MAGA world. It's embarrassing. You have the fair. You have Trump falling asleep constantly, rambling on. These videos are. I think it's having an effect. And Tucker Carlson, this little clip I think was really great. I love it.
Where this leaves the future of the MAGA movement. I mean,
the future of the MAGA. Well, that's over. There's no future of the MAGA movement. Obviously, we're done.
This war caused the end.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, what is the MAGA movement? Trump has defined it as whatever he wants. Well, that's not a movement. That's a tick. That's a preference. It's like, what do I feel like having for breakfast this morning? Well, today it's, the pancake movement. It'll be Eggs Benedict movement tomorrow. Like, it's not a movement. It's just like it's a desire.
But you believed in it.
Well, I never understood what it was. No, I never believed in MAGA. I believe in making America great again. I certainly believe in its literal definition, but its operational definition was never clear. What I believe in is putting your country first. If you're leading your country, of course, its concerns are at the top of your list of concerns, in the same way that your children's concerns are more important, your children's needs are more important to you as a parent than your neighbor's kids' needs and concerns. You're the parent. That's nature. Again, that's just natural. There's nothing crazy or fascistic about that. In fact, any other form of government is crazy and fascistic.
Girl, what?
So
Every other form of government is tyranny. That's the only legitimate form of government where the leader.
Tucker Carlson was one of the people that gave
such an
it,
asshole.
including
He really is.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is, we've been hearing lately talk sensible. She is a big part of the reason why we have Trump. So bring this on. Bring on the flaming MAGA hats. It's, let's go. But I thought that I liked that clip. I don't know.
I mean, there is the full-on America First movement where there is some definite dissent among the right wing. I mean, there is for sure. That you've got the Candace Owens segment, and then you've got the Charlie Kirk segment or Erica Kirk
and then
segment.
The Epstein stuff did a bunch, right? So there's people broke off for that too because they were really upset about that wasn't fulfilled.
And
then also the war was the next one. So every single time there's like a faction that breaks off. And so we see these little fragmented parties. And the thing I want to remind everybody is that we are here because of the Tea Party. Like essentially these little factions can become problems later. So it's not that I think we should ignore them entirely. But we have seen how small groups of people can still speak for a nation, even though they shouldn't. But I do feel like it's weakening MAGA as a whole. And I think it absolutely would keep people home for the midterms. I think it will keep a lot of them from voting. They will not come and vote for Democrats necessarily, but they might stay home because they are uninspired.
So will $12.99 12 packs of Pepsi. I mean, between the prices and the and the corruption and the fact that Trump was mentioned in the Epstein files at least 38,000 times, but according to Jamie Raskin, 1,000,000 times. I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, I kind of don't want to support a pedophile. I don't want to support the party that makes excuses for pedophiles.
So valid.
And so, you know,
so valid.
Hopefully, I mean, and we're seeing it in polling. We're seeing the evidence that there are a lot of people that are turning against Trump, and not the hardcore MAGA, but like the low information people and the people who are in the middle and the independents, especially the independents.
Yeah, especially them. Yeah. I think that a lot of people have really been given a reminder, because it's been a minute since anybody's had this kind of power in our history. Because even when you look at like a supermajority or like somebody that's holding 2 houses of Congress or something, it's like there's always something else that is a check on that. And this is really the first time that I can think of in a long time, in modern times, where it's been this uninterrupted power, and people are like, oh, this is what happens. Yeah, this isn't great. Like, right, even if not a normal president wouldn't have done this, right? Like, now they've seen what happens when you don't have checks and balances that are working together.
It's like
And
the
so
founders, they were trying to make things like simple for us, but really they needed to add like a couple hundred more pages onto the Constitution, because there are a lot of things that fell through the cracks. A lot of things.
Oopsie. Yeah, this is, I mean, well, to be
Like
fair, do
the
you think that they
pardon
thought we would
power.
last this long? I don't think they did.
What's
I don't
up
think
with
they
the
thought
pardon power? I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
that's crazy.
That's crazy. Especially we see how corrupt it pay for pardons. People are like making contributions or investing in crypto, and then all of a sudden, haha, you're pardoned.
Oh my God.
Or the Republican congressman who like did insider trading, and then he just got pardoned earlier this month, or last month now, I guess.
All right, so you guys, it's that time.
I just realized we didn't even talk about birthright citizenship, really, did we, this week?
We did. We talked about it when we did the SCOTUS. I put it up and we didn't like get on because we were talking about other things. So
Well, I'll just encourage everybody to watch. I did a video on this. I'm sure you can find more clips of it, but go watch Mike Johnson having like an actual like moment where he had to stop and breathe because he was so upset that birthright citizenship was upheld, and how close it was to not being upheld, to be honest. And it's
like,
pretty,
as someone who's, my dad wasn't a citizen when I mean, my mom was a citizen, but my dad wasn't a citizen when I was born. And I just think all the people like me, my cousins, who both parents were not citizens when they were born, like, what are their citizenship not going to count anymore? Or the kids that are being born now, they're going to be, nationless. I mean, it's
look,
just
that is one of the things in the Constitution that is really easy to understand. And basically, what was it? A 6-3 decision? Is that what we're saying?
We're saying
5-4. It's
5-4 decision. So 4 justices thought the Constitution was unconstitutional because it's super clear. Like anybody, you don't have to be a constitutional scholar. You can read that clause and know what it says.
And frankly, the entire Constitution is supposed to cover every single person here in America, citizen or not citizen. And this administration,
just like due process, Melina, that a lot of people are being denied. Due process.
Because if you say that you don't have, one person doesn't have due process, then they can just say, oh, she's not a citizen, she doesn't have it. And you can't prove you're not a citizen because you're locked up in an ICE facility. I mean, it's pretty scary. If they can say it about one person, then they can say about anyone. If they're not going to give you your day in court, then you have no rights at all. And you're living under tyranny. And that's what's going on right now. And that's scary.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out that they were really upset about that. And we didn't talk about the trans rights, the trans athletes, and that case. That we can come back maybe next week and cover some of this. I don't know, depending on what happens at this 4th of July thing.
I mean,
but
in theory, it should be kind of slow because of the holiday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I just want to remind everybody that they were cheering that people were losing rights a group of marginalized people that has already been targeted, and they were bummed out. They were literally mourning the idea that that people retained their rights and privileges to citizenship that the Constitution affords them, by the way. That's not someone who cares about this country, and that's not someone who cares about you or me. That's somebody who cares about like getting rich, or I don't know, whatever
I
their
mean,
weird.
that's white nationalists leading the
That
conversation.
yeah, that
That's
this is
exactly
like
what that is.
we have to be honest about these kinds of people and who they are, the bigots that they are. And that's what I said. I said I was saving all my screenshots, and I urge you to do the same thing for all of these politicians that were cheering or being really sad that birthright citizenship was upheld. Keep the screenshots, because I personally will be planning to make them choke on them when fascism is not in like trend anymore. When we're back to the point where people find it distasteful for bigotry, because that there was a time when we were moving towards that where it was not acceptable. And I will be reminding everybody of this, because these are not safe people, and you don't just grow out of bigotry overnight. And these people are pretty loud and bold about it right now, and they're on camera doing it. So just
You mentioned Mike Johnson. Let's play this clip before we go on to the best of the week. He made a little ad. He made a little ad for Democrats, actually.
We were to lose the midterms, heaven forbid. These Democrats, y'all, impeachment's not even the big concern. They will turn every committee of Congress into an investigative body, and they'll go after the president's family, the cabinet, his donors and friends. Half of you in this room will be targeted. I run the protection program. I'll take care of you, okay? We're going to win. We're going to win the midterm, okay? All right?
I mean, that's some great motivation right there. Everybody vote, because we need to get some justice in here. I mean, come on. So, like, I love that. I love that he said that. All right, so best of the.
That's also how scared he is, by the way. You can actually feel how scared that he is in that.
Chris, you want to go first on the best of the week? I'll put should I do your video first, or you want to talk first?
No, I'll set it up first. Okay, so mine is every 4th of July, I watch the musical 1776. And I was not going to do it this year. And I decided, as my flag backdrop would imply, screw it, I'm going to be patriotic. Because one of the things about this musical, so it was written in the late 60s with the backdrop of the Vietnam War. And it was written in such a way as not to paint the nation's founding as pristine. It's not the clip that I'm showing right here, but I would highly encourage you to look up John Cullum, played South Carolina delegate Edward Rutledge, and sings a song in this musical, Molasses to Rum to Slaves. And it is calling out the hypocrisy of the North saying that you're anti-slavery when they are benefiting economically from the practice. And it was the thing that almost derailed the entire Declaration. Was initially Thomas Jefferson, ironically, had a clause in it about deriding slavery, and that being one of the complaints against the king. But overall, it shows that Congress was a hot mess from day one. And yet somehow they figured it out, and we ended up with a declaration, and somehow we ended up with a constitution, and somehow 250 years later, we're still here. So don't give up hope. And I can't believe I'm being optimistic, because this is against my nature.
Well, we need hope. So
we need
you guys
hope.
this is a good reminder too that the founders were not unproblematic men. They were
Correct.
all problematic men with problems that were just as significant as the ones we have now, and they came together and managed to do it.
From slave labor,
and as a benefit for all millennials, it's Mr. Feeney as John Adams. So I would encourage you to watch it, if only for that.
Yeah.
So here we go. Okay.
It's very, by the way, Philadelphia also hot and humid, like during this stuff, right?
Yes, I can confirm it is.
Yes.
All right. Casey, what you got?
I sent you mine.
I got it.
So I saw this today, I was reminded that
We
we
don't
are
deserve this
all
man.
number one, Hunter Biden is a gift. But so he says, I'm officially nominating Donald J. Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. No president in history has ended the same war so many times. Our dear leader has ended the war with Iran at least 38 times by CNN's count. No president has ever done this before, and he is nowhere near finished ending it. It's a record worthy of the Nobel Committee's attention. Thank you for your attention to this matter, or recognition. Thank you for the attention to this matter. So I would just I saw this and I thought, you know what? We really could be trolling better. Like we could all
We're not
step up
petty
our
enough.
trolling game. Yeah, we need to be
Yeah.
petty. But this is smart petty. Like this is really
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
And I was just telling Chris Webb about this, about how like we should really be going into these MAGA social channels and be like, you know, defaming Democrats in a way that actually makes them look really good, because there's ways to do that. And this is a really good example
I love
of
it.
that. And I hadn't even thought about this when I was telling you that. So I think that this is just a good reminder that you can have a sense of humor, and you can make attacks on people without actually without actually attacking them. This is a pretty heinous read.
It's pretty
here,
brilliant.
So it's pretty
That's
good.
really, really, really brilliant.
Yeah.
And it makes social media more fun too. Like when you see that kind of stuff, you go there because it's funny. That's how Trump like built his account, was people were like, oh my God, he's saying the craziest shit. But you know, people wanted to hear what's going to come out of his mouth next. But we need to do that. I love that idea, Casey.
And
you're brilliant at it too. You are so
no.
good at that.
I'm
If you're not
nowhere
following
near.
Casey on TikTok, you need to, because she is
You're so nice.
hilarious.
Thank you. I would like to point out that Threads, because of the way that platform works, when something like this goes out, there's a lot of education that happens in the comment section as well. So it's not just that this initial post is really good, but what Melena was saying, how it drives people to social media because that's so fun. They want to see that. That's a really good point, because then underneath all of that, there's education that's happening too. It's not just in the main post. So these kind of people, we should really be encouraging and reposting. And also, you know, if you feel inspired by it, try to emulate it, because I think that it's really effective.
Thank you. I think Hunter Biden has been very impressive, and I don't know where that came from. Like out of nowhere.
A lot of therapy.
It seemed like he was on a long hiatus, and all of a sudden, boom, touchdown.
Well, there's something about being shown like naked in congressional committee rooms.
By Marjorie Taylor Greene, no less.
Right.
Melena, you got something for us? Did you have something?
Okay, so I kind of have like mine is a little bit something that we covered slightly, and that is the birthright citizenship. For me, that was super important. I'm going to tell you a little story that I heard this just yesterday from my student that like made me cry in class. When you have corruption like this, it makes everyone less safe. Okay. She hired a lawyer, and the lawyer defrauded her out of $15,000 and is no longer practicing law. $15,000 to someone who's a new immigrant to this country is enormous. It's almost an entire year's salary once you take out the taxes. Okay. So to me, this birthright citizenship was so important because it's going to make a huge difference to so many people whose children were born here or about to be born here. I have pregnant students in my class who are about to have kids in the next couple of weeks. I have a friend who's about to have a child in October. And having a nationality is important. A lot of people don't realize like the history of nationless people. Like, you know, when people don't have a home and when they don't have a country, maybe no one will take them in. And they don't have any kind of security. They're hidden in the shadows. And my students are often hidden in the shadows. My grandfather came here undocumented. He was hidden in the shadows. You know, having to work without papers, it makes it so that people can take advantage of you, that they can steal from you. They can steal your wages, and you can't say anything. You can't do anything. And in some states, they have protections like California, but most states don't. And so that meant a lot to me. And it made me want to fight harder. It made me want to volunteer more. It made me want to inspire others to volunteer and to make those calls and knock on doors. And I inspired my students after hearing that story. I inspired them because you don't have to be a citizen, and you don't have to be and you don't have to even be documented to go knock on doors, to talk to people, to make phone calls. Anybody can get active, and anybody can talk to their neighbors and talk to their friends and try to convince them how important it is to vote, because a lot of people can't vote. They're not citizens. And if you can't vote, you might feel powerless, but you're not. And that's why that decision was so impactful to me, because some of these people, some of my students, while they're not documented now, once their kids turn 21, once their citizen kids turn 21, then they can get in line and be sponsored for it. And I hope that there's some immigration reform that happens in this country, because it is very much needed.
Oh my God.
Can
yes.
I piggyback off of that before I get into my best? Something that didn't go our way the week before, and which was why I was nervous about birthright citizenship, was TPS, temporary protected status.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Haitians here that were given temporary protection status because of the horrible earthquake that happened so many years ago. These people have settled here. They have families as well. They've started business. Like if you look at Ohio, where they started that awful rumor about eating pets and whatnot, there's a large Haitian community there that actually had built an infrastructure. They were really big contributor, or are really big contributors. And now, so they were legal. They were here legally, and they're being talked about as if they're illegal. And now they are, because they've ended temporary protected status. And so they've been made to be illegal. So now, Melinda, to your point, they're going to be homeless. They really, it is not safe. And even people in our administration have admitted that Haiti is not a safe place to go.
And the same with the Ukrainians, their status got ended too, as well as, and now the Cubans and so many other nationalities, they're all in jeopardy. And so what are you going to send people back to a war zone because of this this administration and this decision? It's really absolutely outrageous.
It's not to be a downer, because we're in the positive part, but I would like to point out that they deported 120 Venezuelans, and literally that same day or the next day the earthquakes happened, and now they believe they're all dead.
There was one story, very optimistic story, of a woman actually crawling out of the rubble, who was one of those people that were sent back.
Okay, so that's good. That's a good story.
So we have one.
But to that point, those were people that probably should not have been deported in the first place, like given what this administration's been doing. So for the people that are saying, I want to point out that there's a lot of things. There's like a butterfly effect. And it's not just one decision or one person or one group of people. There's a lot of people impacted by this, and it goes really far and deep. And so that was disappointing for that reason, but also Amy Coney Barrett's participation in it as well, given her adopted children.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really frustrating to see as well. And I don't know, this, especially given the fact that Gorsuch was one of the dissenters, like I wouldn't have expected it to be him either. Was the other thing. I was based on the oral arguments, I was going to be 7-2, but I also did say, like, if you were a betting person, you probably should have picked that it might not have been upheld, because with this Supreme Court.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. Okay, so my best of the week. I want to talk about Jason Watson, who yesterday took a stand, civil disobedience. So I'll tell you, I have actually spoken to him a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. We had a conversation, video conversation. He actually at the time was stationed in Poland, but this is a career officer. He's a major, and he had told me what he was going to do. And I think people have to understand, this is part of my post here. People have to understand that because a lot of people, I did a thread. So everybody, I put the thread, I pinned, well, this wasn't a thread. This was a single post on X. So that's this one. but I pretty much mirrored it on my other socials. Threads was a thread. Blue Sky was a thread. I just pinned it to my profile. So if you have a chance, read the thread. What I told him is I said, give me your information, give me some documents, because I didn't know this guy, okay? I wanted to know his background. He sent me his reviews, his grades in the academy.
Wow.
His reviews were all positive. Everything, was good. There were, he didn't get promoted all the time. With not a great explanation, really. I don't know how much I should say, but so I thought, let me, they're going to vilify you, man, when you do this. And the thing that was, people have to understand, when you're in the military, you don't have the same right to free speech that all of us on the call have. And so I wasn't fully aware of that. And then the other thing, he actually had said, I am going to be prosecuted. I'm going to be, he knew by doing this, he was going to be arrested. He also mentioned the death penalty, which I don't see that happening. But what made this, he's done protests before. He also mentioned he did a protest in front of the White House with others. And this really touched me too. He made a point to wear all white because he said, if I get injured, you will see the blood right away, right? So I thought, let me post his bio. So this is what I'm not going to read this all to you, but just a little bit, because I wanted people to understand that he's not, everything I saw from him, it didn't seem self-promoting at all, right? So basically, he was a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, career logistics officer, NATO officer, a decorated veteran who volunteered for 365-day tour in Afghanistan and later served in Kuwait and Iraq. When I first spoke to him, he was in Poland. He came back to the U.S. Recently, like about a week ago before, and it was always going to be early July, before the 4th of July. But the date did change a little bit. He led personnel across multiple countries, managed billions of dollars in military assets, and served as a sexual assault response coordinator to support fellow service members. So, people can disagree on this. I think in my responses, people have been very positive. I think this is what we should be supporting, people doing these kind of actions. Like Casey keeps saying, we're living under fascism. Well, bravery is what's needed at this time. And we're not seeing that from a lot of people. Do I think this will end in impeachment? No. And he knew it wouldn't, but it's bringing attention to it. I want to end with this.
But who is it going to inspire next is the point, right? Like this might inspire somebody else that does.
Right. So Jason Watson, the other thing y'all may have heard this before. To me, it rang differently. He says impeach, convict, remove. His push, and I like this idea, is to impeach, convict, remove Trump, but also at the same time impeach, convict, and remove J.D. Vance. And this, when you look at the line of succession, by the time this happens, because in order for us to do it, we will have, the majority. We'll have Congress blue. The next person would be the Speaker of the House, which would be a Democrat.
Hakeem Jeffries.
So that is a plan. And hopefully the right people are listening, and we can do this impeachment right this time. Impeach, convict, remove Trump, and do the same thing with J.D. Vance. And then we have our next president will be a Democrat before we even get to 2028. So we'll see. But I think this man was brave. I think he deserves support. And I think we will be hearing about this far longer than just this week. But I really.
And there's reverse precedent for it in that Spiro Agnew was the vice president under Nixon, who was gotten rid of prior to Nixon's resignation, which is how we ended up with Ford. You can do two at once.
Yeah, you
can. We did it before. We can do it again.
Hey, while we're at it, can we do some other people to start impeaching some of these other crooks that are in our government right now?
Well, if we get enough senators, and we'd have to have like 60 senators, right, for this to work. So everybody make sure that you're going out there, talking to your friends, donating. There's a lot of Like Chris posted some great stuff about the Lindsey Graham race, right? That is not going the way that he would like it to go.
We're gonna hit that. We're gonna hit that a little bit later for sure. So everybody, if you have a chance, read my post. It's pinned, and just give some love to this guy. There is a GoFundMe. I didn't have to put it in my post. On each of my posts, other people in there put it in there. And he's going to need some defense,
I was surprised at how many people came immediately to his defense. I did have some trolls that came later, but it was already because there were so many people overwhelmingly thankful and grateful for his service then and now, and like saying how this was really like what a true patriot would
and military
do,
people pointing out what a big deal this was.
Yes. And me pointing out that part of their protecting is both foreign and domestic threats. And this administration is absolutely a domestic threat. And they are breaking the law, and they are threatening our peace and our safety. And it needs to be spoken about more, because they are. So this is not an overreaction.
So that's what made this extremely.
It's very appropriate.
He gave up his career, and he had a long, like what I was just reading to. He's had a long, very respectable career, and this is hero right here.
A lot of people pushing for pardon, like when a Democratic president comes in, a pardon, and I think that's a really good thing.
When the time comes, we should push that for sure.
We should.
So one more thing before we move on to our CTA. This is something kind of cool. What's going on in all corners of this country? Democrats are really entering races that we normally would not enter. There's cases where every single office is being contested by Democrats. So watch this.
Which is crazy that we weren't doing that, by the way.
It's awesome.
Reporter Tim Murphy at Mother Jones just had a look at the way Democrats are contesting this year's elections, which might have something to say about the desperation Trump is showing to try to throttle the election so they don't go off as normal. For the first time ever, Democrats are running candidates in every single state legislature race in the state of Minnesota. No uncontested races. Democrats are running in every single race in the House and in the Senate. Same thing in Texas, where Democrats this year are also, for the first time in decades, fielding a Democratic candidate for every single House seat and every single Senate seat in the whole state of Texas. Same thing in South Carolina. Democrats in South Carolina are running for every single seat in the legislature. Same thing in Arizona. Democrats are fielding a candidate for every single seat in the legislature. In Kansas, there are 18 seats where Republicans ran unopposed last time. This time, all 18 of those seats have a Democrat running. In North Carolina, Democrats are fielding a candidate in all but 2 seats in the entire state. In New Hampshire, where the state legislature is massive, it's basically impossible for a party to field Senate and House candidates for all 424 seats in the New Hampshire state legislature. But Democrats have candidates running in 57 more races in New Hampshire than the Republicans do. This sort of Democratic recruitment bonanza, Democrats absolutely filling the ballot in all of these states where for years, maybe forever, they've never even thought it was worth contesting these races. This is born of deliberate strategy on the part of Democrats, right? In a country where the president has a negative 50-point approval rating from independents, literally any group of voters anywhere in the country might conceivably vote against the party of a president who's that roundly hated by this country. It's good strategy in a year like this for Democrats to cover all the bases. Run someone everywhere. You never know where you might pick up a seat or 2. But it's also born, I think, of personal confidence among these candidates that it's worth the time and effort to try. Even in a long shot district, it's worth it. In fact, it's something you'll be proud of. It's worth it. Standing up for your country, raising your hand and saying, hey, pick me. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to go up against what these people are doing to the country.
I love that so much because, first of all, it's motivational. Second of all, it's so true. That last part, right now in particular, I mean, if you are running and it's a purple district or even a red district where people are unhappy, you have a chance that you may not have had before. So I think that's a great point. On that note, though, I need everybody to understand this. I think this is so important. This came out this week. The DNC reportedly has an they're $18 million in debt. They have $15 million cash, which means they're short $3 million. The RNC, on the other hand, has $125 million in cash on hand. This is the problem, and I need everybody to see this. I see a lot of Democrats doing this. We are handicapping our candidates who are getting donations from corporations. Yes, we should have red lines. Maybe there's something that's really problematic. We don't want our candidates to have control, to be controlled by corporations. I get that. But if that is your red line and you're trying to end a Democrat's chances at running or at winning, you have to realize what we're up against. So we're kneecapping our own candidates. And who does that help? That helps Republicans. So what's been happening is you have, I think there's a lot to work out here. We'll see what happens with the far left or the DSA, group. They fought a fellow Democrat and they won against a Democrat. That doesn't really move the needle in the House. If you're in a safe blue district and you're fighting an incumbent, okay, this is an anti-incumbent cycle, right? So nice job, that's great, and a lot of us are pissed. We need people to get off their asses and work. So we're going to replace you if you don't. I get that, but the real work starts in the general, and you're going to have to beat Republicans who have an enormous amount of money. So if you're still if you're riding because AIPAC is donating to a candidate, that's your thing. I'm not going there. What I really want is us not to send arms to countries. But that has nothing to do with AIPAC, in my opinion. Y'all can come at me if you want.
Well,
I don't care.
it's not just AIPAC, okay? There are some people that are attacking anyone who's
Any corporate, any large donation,
any large donation or any even donation from a Jewish person, like in the case of the local candidate running in my area, whose husband was Jewish. That was just not cool. We shouldn't be counting out donors. A lot of Jewish people are very generous, and 88% of Jewish women voted for Harris. So most Jewish people are Democrats. So keep that in mind. And second,
I think that's an important point. I think that's a really important point because we are fighting ourselves when we do that shit.
Yeah. And then, when groups like Indivisible spend all their money on the primary, and now there's not money for the general, it's well, that was your choice to do it. I mean, you put the money into the primary to primary other Democrats. I mean, that's not cool.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, sorry. I think that to your point, there is an let's think of the word misunderestimation. They underestimate
Is that George W. Bush here?
that and Arrested Development are the two.
Yeah.
Quote from him or whatever. So the idea that this somehow the love of this nation and the grassroots patriotism is going to be enough to carry candidates through. And I just need you all to join me in 2026. We are not in 1995 anymore. We run campaigns differently. Citizens United has changed the whole dynamic of politicking. And we did not get here, authoritarian fascism, for free. This was bought, and we're not going to get rid of it for free. And that needs to be said more, because the Republicans spent a lot of money making this happen. So this idea that somehow there's going to be an organic benevolence of the people, so the candidates who are the most worthy are going to just naturally have money, it's such bullshit. It's so stupid. I need you to join us in 2026. I'm not saying let go of your ethics and values. I'm just simply saying be smart about understanding what is required to win a campaign. Really be honest about that. because Mamdani is one person in one city, and I like what he's doing, his style,
Yeah.
and I think that it can
Yeah.
be emulated other places, and we should do that. And you know that I am not, if anything, I am very critical of the Democrats. I got on here last week complaining about some of their tweeting, and on our call, I think this week I did too.
Oh,
It's
well, on
not that
that
I'm
point,
without.
Casey, I think with DSA, they are extremely skilled at social media.
Mhm.
And this is the lesson. I don't care what your beliefs are. If you're a Democrat, you should be like a lot of our moderates and our, what do you want to call them? Old timers? I don't know. That's awful. But they haven't learned. They need to, veterans. Thank you. They need their social media game is lacking. And this is 2026. If you do not have a social media game at this point, you're going to have problems getting out your messaging. You're
But
going
the
to have
way
problems
that
getting support.
And the way that people have to do that is to pay people who are good at that to do it.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
problem is that you can't just rely
Republicans do
on
it.
volunteers for people, especially in some of these more rural areas or areas where that kind of population may not even exist. So you have to pay professionals. And by the way, this is like, there's a whole conversation happening on Threads and other channels about paying creators for the same reason, because you pay professionals for their labor and you get what you pay for. If the American State Fair doesn't prove that, like, I don't know what does, because you know damn well they didn't pull like experts of carpentry in to do this. Like that they were not experts putting this together. And you get what you pay for. And so people thinking that they can just recreate Mamdani on like a DIY Pinterest budget. Like you cannot. You need to pay the people who know how to run
and
social media
honestly,
campaigns.
they're spending so much time hating on Mamdani because he has the label of DSA, but they're
Yeah.
not learning the lesson that they need to learn. Like, forget that part. Forget the label.
Yeah.
Learn the lesson of how he ran his campaign and how he is governing in New York. I should have prefaced this a little better. This is my post in response to the fact that another Supreme Court decision, they took away the cap on so basically the DNC and the RNC equally can contribute as much as they want to individual candidates. But do you see the problem here? DNC doesn't have any money. Ken Martin, this is a failure of his leadership, because a big part of his job, whether you like his personality or not, is to raise fucking money. That is the job of the chair of the party. And he's not like, we can have debate all we
I'm
want
not here to
about
make excuses
this is
for
like
people.
facts here. He's not raising
I'm not here
money.
to make excuses for them. At all. Like, but I am here to say
this is a
we have to
problem
find
for
that money.
our party. The DNC is not currently beloved for a lot of reasons, and that is part of it. They're not getting the small donations. I used to be a card-carrying member of the DNC back when Obama was president. Not in a long time, but they're not even getting the big donors.
But
people aren't realizing there's two things happening here. That number one, the DNC doesn't have the money to give to candidates that are in places that can't raise that kind of money because maybe they don't have the people or the income in that area to do that, right? So they step in for these races where they have to maybe spend extra money to get a candidate in these purple areas where it's not as easy for them to win. And that's how they're supposed to function. But also they don't have the same organization that we see with like the RNC and the Republicans. So there's also not that's missing. So not only is the money missing, but so too is the organization. So there's multiple things happening. Multiple things can be true at the same time. And I wanted to, for transparency purposes, like be honest about that, because that's also part of the problem. But in a world where things were functioning better, that's what the DNC would be doing, is helping to foster these candidates in those spaces where even if they were beloved like Mamdani, they still wouldn't be able to maybe raise the funds as successfully. However, social media does help with that, right? And us sharing out those candidates does help with that. And so every week we will be going through and doing that and sharing some people that you can help.
And then they also help pay for the infrastructure of our campaign system, right?
That's right.
So that's really important too, like, the phone calling systems and things like that. And if they're in an $18 million debt if you happen to know any billionaires, please ask them to start contributing.
Please, my
because,
God. George,
I mean,
they put the list out of all the billionaires, and it's like who's giving the most, and it's like George Soros like is giving the most, and then everybody else is Republican. All 20 names are conservatives. That it's like one liberal billionaire, and he might be the number one, but 19 other people are the synergy of those people way bigger. So we need. Mark Cuban seems like he's gone to the dark side, so I don't know who's left, but like we need you to get
we
in
just
here.
got to
Tag in.
keep on pushing people to donate. Like, the DNC after the 2016 election got hit really hard because of their their bias towards Hillary Clinton, the candidate who happened to be winning at the time. But after that, a lot of people closed their purses to the DNC. And
I mean,
we can't.
But that's valid now because people don't have the money to give. Now people don't have the money. They got to go buy eggs and chicken, and it's too much.
That's
So
true.
now
But
what
for
we
the
need to be
people who
doing is
do-
using our consumer influence to pressure corporations and businesses to be giving money, like the people, the billionaires, the Mark Cubans, the people that are on social media that are out there with their mega yachts and like whatever the hell. If you can fuel up your mega yacht, then you can help save democracy. Get in here, bitch. And that's what we need to be saying, like over and over, is calling upon these businesses and corporations and putting our money, like as consumers, well, because we have to buy supplies, buy them from when we can, buy them from the people that are willing to help save this country.
Yeah, but I still think that we can ask people to give up a cup of coffee. I mean, I know right now people are hurting, but there are some
I'm not
people
giving up my coffee.
Who there's some people who can afford a $5 or a $10 or a $15 donation, and we should be asking them to start.
I don't think they're going to donate.
money.
I think the DNC needs to be active. They need to show a different side. They need to reinvent themselves, quite honestly. I think people will give to candidates. I think that's a very different thing.
Yeah.
But I think giving to the DNC, they have some work to do. And this is a failure of leadership.
They're gonna have to fix their shit before 2028 is what I'm saying. Like I think that they could rally before 2028, but not before midterms. So I think looking to candidates now and the corporations, whatever, to people to like individually patronize these people. But we do need a solution going forward because we can't not have an entity, an organization like that. And like to Chris's point, they need to restructure. They need to reinvent themselves.
And they need to raise money. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to be asking people to give.
You ask for people, Melanie.
I will
love your
ask for people
spirit.
to give because it is an emergency. They're $18 million in debt, and our democracy is about to fail and be gone forever.
Show me what you're doing.
I'm going to ask wealthy people.
Show me the money. Show me what you are doing with that money, and maybe I'll consider. Otherwise, my money's going elsewhere.
But also, like, let's get these wealthy people to pay them because, like, they're the ones that have the money, not me. So, like, do that.
Right. But they need to see some action there. Okay. All right. So we have been talking about the Senate for weeks, right? And we're going to continue to talk about it. But Casey actually brought this candidate to my attention. And we're going to talk about Lindsey Graham's opponent. And there was some new polling that came out. So he's 48%, she's 45%. How many terms has Lindsey Graham? How long has he been serving?
Billion. I don't know. Like pretty close to Mitch McConnell, I swear. Like it's a long time.
So anyway, he is getting nervous for good reason. So
He's struggling.
So this is just a poll, but when you flip it to informed voters, she cleans his clock there a little bit, 46 to 43. I don't know how that translates to likely voters. The wording in this poll is a little odd to me, but I think we should keep an eye on this candidate because she's not nothing here. And Casey's you're going to tell us a little more about her.
Just a little quick background on her. So she launched last year, and I remember because I saw her on TikTok, I believe. I can't remember if it was Instagram or TikTok, but like I saw a video. And she, being that she's a pediatrician, it was largely in response to a lot of what we're seeing with Maha and like RFK Jr. and the irresponsible policies that are harming kids specifically with respect to vaccines and all of the other.
Maha?
Is what?
Is she Maha?
No. She's anti that, is what I'm saying.
I heard you say Maha. So I'm just like,
oh yeah, she said.
I was gonna be like, uh-oh.
No, in response to that, I think it was like,
Okay.
as a doctor, she felt compelled to speak out and,
Gotcha.
like,
Okay, I understand.
challenge that. And I think that that's what drew her in, because everybody
Reporter
has like
recently asked.
Sorry.
yeah, she can we don't have to play the whole clip, but this is on her page. You can go to her TikTok or her Instagram. I think it's pinned on both places. And she goes over some of her policy points, like her main things. And I think she's definitely progressive because she's not taking PAC money, and she's
Well, let's put this up because
yeah.
you pointed this out. She is
Mhm.
on social. She's active on social.
Yeah.
She is this Threads, Casey? I think this is
Yeah,
Threads. Yes.
that's
And
Threads,
she
but
has
she's on, I
100
think, all the major ones. Yeah.
she has almost 200,000 followers on there. So she's not one of those candidates that, like, she may not be well known, but she's active on social and she's using that to her advantage. So yeah, let's play this clip. What did I do with it? Is this
So while you're doing that, while you're queuing it up, she is active and she responds to people. And I think, and she has 3 kids. She's a mom. She's a doctor. Okay, you got it. Like, okay.
Lindsey Graham about me. And what he said was, she seems like a nice, attractive lady with a couple of kids, but we don't know what she believes in.
Like an attractive, nice lady with a couple of kids, but what does she believe?
Number 1, thank you for the compliment, Senator Graham. Number 2, I have 3 kids actually. And number 3, here's what I believe in. I believe that healthcare is a human right. I believe that we need to stop the impending Medicaid budget cuts. I believe we need to protect Medicare and Social Security. I believe we need to fully fund the CDC and the NIH. And I believe we need to impeach and remove RFK Jr. I believe we need to address America's cost of living emergency. I believe we need to raise the federal minimum wage. I believe we need to pass an expanded permanent child tax credit. And I believe we need to stop the on-again, off-again unconstitutional tariffs. I believe we need to root out the corruption that is degrading American democracy. I believe we need to end partisan gerrymandering. I believe we need to pass term limits. I believe we need to ban members of Congress from trading stock and from becoming lobbyists. And I believe we need to get dark money out of politics once and for all by ending Citizens United. I believe that instead of starting endless, unnecessary billion-dollar-a-day wars, we need to support South Carolina's active duty service members, military families, and veterans. And if Lindsey Graham thinks he's going to come back here to South Carolina and ask us to send our sons and daughters to fight in his war, he's going to have to go through me. I believe we need to restore a woman's right to make healthcare decisions about
I think we should
her
listen to the whole clip. She's good.
I think it's pretty good.
And I believe if you couldn't pass a pop quiz about women's reproductive anatomy, you shouldn't have anything to do with writing laws about what a woman does with her body. I believe we need to fully fund our public education system. I believe we need to take bold action to address climate change. And finally, I believe that as long as gun violence remains the leading cause of death for children in this state, we need to wake up every day and fight like hell to pass the common sense gun laws that the vast majority of South Carolinians want to see passed. And we can do all of that together.
So Annie Andrews, everybody, she is someone to watch. South Carolina. I know none of y'all like Lindsey Graham. I don't know why he keeps winning. These,
Wait, can you put the slide where they're back to back, the different this one. So this is like this is really a funny thing, but it's true, because when you think about like all the policy points that she has, Lindsey Graham's are basically none, because he just keeps doing whatever Trump decides to do. So he can't even hold his own beliefs, because
he
keeps
is the photo you see when you Google bootlicker. Okay.
Yes, it's really and I don't like, people joke about them having like blackmail on him or like whatever. I don't know, but all I'm saying is that there's a video of Lindsey Graham speaking very kindly about Biden, and very on. You probably, most of you have seen that clip in the car of him being interviewed and talking about Biden. And so we know that it's not like Lindsey Graham is like, what's his face, Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, who like that's
has zero redeeming qualities. I know that Lindsey Graham is no more. I don't care what he was.
No. I know, and I'm saying
Yeah,
something has happened, and he is not that person. Like, so now, just to see that arc, the villain
yeah.
arc, where he's
When Bo
gone.
died, Teresa said,
Yeah, and he is not working for South Carolina. He's working for Trump. And that needs to be said, because he is not looking out for anybody in that state. And this is a woman who lives there, who works there, who has children there that go to public schools, and that she's invested. That this guy is not invested in your state or the outcomes of that. This woman is. These are the kind of politicians you should be voting for, or people that have children that live in and breathe the infrastructure. He doesn't. He probably does very rarely in South Carolina. And I don't even know, I don't even know anything about his family, to be honest. I don't care. The point is, like, she's very invested, and we'll come back to her at some point, I'm sure, because we're going through the Senate, specifically the senatorial candidates, because we know that there's a chance that we can absolutely take the Senate, and that's so necessary. And this is just another example, counter to Maine, when these polls came out, like what Chris had gone through last week. I think we did it last week. I can't remember, but like, yeah, we we hadn't even put this in as one of the potential pathways to take it. Like, we didn't even, it was like not even on the horizon. But I have been watching her for the past year, and I really think that she has the potential to take this. And would, not only could she win, but I think she would be an excellent candidate. Like, I think she'd be a really good
everything
person
she
for you.
said in that video is like, I believe it. You know, I want all those things too. So
And her
I wouldn't
social
mind.
media backs
She
it
should
up.
move to
her
California.
personality.
I would vote for her here.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
the
The politicians that walk the walk and talk the talk. Like,
Yeah.
if you watch her, if you go to her social media and you really watch her interacting and like the stuff that she says and her reactions to things that happen, you can tell she's like us. Like, she's pissed off. Like, she's just like us and wants
And let's
change.
remind everybody that Lindsey Graham wanted a national abortion ban. He wanted it federalized. And here's a physician who could take his place. So I love that, and she's a woman.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
So thank you, Casey, for bringing her to our attention, and we should all keep an eye on her and boost her. So she's on social. So this is somebody that's on social, that's prolific on social media. We should like follow her and boost her. So, all right, everybody. Well, it's been over 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah,
have a great 4th of July. However you choose to celebrate or not celebrate. Maybe you're just chilling. That's what I'm going to be doing. Maybe catching some fireworks. Not going to the 250 but I will be watching. So y'all, I think the posts over the weekend are going to be lit. Like, I have never in my life said, "Oh, I want to see Trump's speech." I'm not saying I'm going to watch all of it, but I want to watch that. I want to watch that man in 100-degree heat with 90% humidity. I don't know, you guys. This may be it for him.
I'm like, maybe I got to figure out how to live stream this, because I want to be with you all when it happens. Like, right? Like,
well, Casey had already have said when it happens, we will go live. Like, we will be doing a full 24/7 like post-mortem or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And
literally.
I'm sure that they'll probably have like portable air conditionings around the dude. Like, like they won't air condition like Americans, like the lowly peons, but they're going to air condition.
But Obama wouldn't have needed air conditioning.
We might do the Beyonce fans, which will be so like amazing with that too.
For his hair.
Oh, maybe that's what finally does it. Like, his egotism over his hair. He's like, no, I can't have the fans on me because my hair would be ruined.
Do the Beyonce
that's what it's
fan,
gonna be.
Please.
That's very like in the history books, like when people have. Right? Like, when you were started, well, this is a full circle moment, because Chris Quinn started out talking about William Henry Harrison. So here we are, full circle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't wear
the opposite. The opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing. The ego.
He should have been wearing bathing trunks, but he wore like a full suit. What's up?
There we go.
All right, everybody. Have a great 4th, great weekend. See you next Thursday.